Lots of interesting stories to unfold. 11 Pocono victories have been scored by 5 different drivers. Jeff Gordon has 4. Tim Richmond had 3. Jimmy Johnson a couple, plus Terry Labonte and Jeffrey Bodine for Hendrick Motorsports. Can they go back to victory lane today? Can anyone slow down Kyle Busch? He'll have to come from the back of the field in a backup car. 43 cars lined up on pit road. The fans are in their seats. Glad you're here with us on TNT. Let's take you trackside now here at the Pocono Raceway and get the command for this afternoon's race.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
A lot of success by drivers starting in the front of the field here at Pocono. But just a few years ago, Carl Edwards won from 29th. The green flag coming up. TNT Sports presents NASCAR. Today, it's the Pocono 500, presented by EA Sports, NASCAR 09. Partly sunny day here in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Temperature right now, 83 degrees. Could get up to about 89 or 90. Could be a little hotter on pit road, and yes, there is a chance of precipitation, but that's late in the day. Hi, everybody. Bill Weber along with Wally Dallenbach and Kyle Petty. Welcome to the 25th consecutive season of NASCAR coverage on Turner Sports. Thanks for having us in for the race. We've all been coming to Pocono for a long time, but this isn't the same place.
No, this is not my father's Pocono by any stretch of the imagination. I remember coming here in the late 60s, early 70s when I was young and watching my father run here. And all those years, they ran right on the curb, getting into turn 1, right on the curb across the tunnel, and right on the curb through 3 and 4. This year, it's totally different. With the patch that they have on the racetrack, they're running high through 1 and 2, still run low across the tunnel, but they're running out in left field through 3 and 4 out on that patch.
And they have a lot of other obstacles to try and overcome today.
Yeah, this place is going to kill Valve Springs because they are ripping the RPMs right now. Very high, 97, 98. Probably guys even running more. You do this a lot at Pocono, so I think engines are going to be a big issue. I think brakes are going to be a big issue too, because normally if your car doesn't handle well, you wind up using more brakes. Not that you're on them harder, but you're on them longer. If it's going to be hot today and these guys are going to be slipping and sliding around, I think there could be some stories on brakes. I think Larry McReynolds will show us a little bit more on the TNT test car later in the program.
Well, this is a marathon. You have to be patient, but you have to be fast to be around at the end. We'll see how it unfolds through 500 miles this afternoon here in Pocono. Here's the Miller Lite starting grid for today's race, and this is how the cars are expected to cross the start-finish line when they take the green flag. It's a little different from qualifying. You saw the front row of Casey Kane and Jimmy Johnson. A handful of cars have had to move to the back of the field. Already this morning on the grid, the 29 car of Kevin Harvick has had an issue. May have to make a battery change. If they do indeed make that change, they'll have to send Kevin Harvick to the back of the field as well. You continue to watch the starting grid as we roll through it. Wally's going to jump on the radio and see if he can't call up a driver.
4,500. Let's see if we can. I know Carl Edwards is checking his pit road speed right now. Let's see if we can jump in. Carl Edwards, this is Wally Dallenbach in the booth. You hear me?
Go ahead, Wally.
All right, man. Well, this seems to be a race that's shaping up in your favor. I mean, we haven't gotten the green flag, but I know this is the kind of race you like. It's going to be slipping and sliding. You've got a good race car. You've got to be excited about today.
Oh, you're right, man. I've been, especially after last night, we didn't run very well in that World Financial Group car, but, I just couldn't wait to get here, knowing it's going to be 90 degrees, slippery, and, grueling. And, my guys have been working real hard on the Sapling Fusion, and this is my kind of race. You're right.
You got to be happy about starting on the outside here, because right now you are running on that patch in turn 3, and that's the place to be, I think, at least the first part of this race.
Oh, yeah, right here is great. And if you move up to about here, it's terrible. So the only thing is just don't miss the patch. That's the key, but we should have a great race, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Good luck, Carl. We may jump back and talk to you under a caution if that's okay.
You can talk to me anytime you want, Wally. Some of these straightaways are pretty long, I can use a little company.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
That's Carl Edwards looking for a good run here at Pocono this afternoon. Continue to roll through the Miller Lite starting grid for you. You see Robbie Gordon back there. There's Terry Labonte in the seat for Kyle Petty for the next few races.
Filling in for me, doing a great job. We've really appreciated it. Carl seems to be in a good mood, didn't he? I mean, talking to Wally, just joking back and forth. These are some long straightaways, man. You get lost under caution out here.
Sam Hornish in a backup car at the back of the field. J.J. Yaley did not qualify. Time to check in with Larry McReynolds. He's at the test car, brought to you by the Bill Engvall Show on TBS. All new episodes Thursday, June 12th. Here's Larry.
Well, Bill, when they drop this green flag, I think we've already documented they're going to be fighting for that new patch of asphalt in turn 3. I think it's going to be a case of comers and goers. You look at the guys that are starting 33rd or worse that have pretty good race cars. Greg Biffle, Jeff Gordon, Kyle Busch. But how about some of those go-homers that will be starting in the top 10 that had to step it up for qualifying? You've got Scott Riggs, A.J. Allmendinger, Regan Smith, Joe Nemechek. Their cars didn't look that good yesterday, but we know it's going to be hard to pass. We feel like as hot as it is, every time you come to pit road, you're going to want to get 4 of these Goodyear babies to make that car feel good. So maybe the only way you can get up there is through getting off sequence. And Marty, maybe Steve Letarte can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, let's talk to the Pocono master of strategy from this race last year. He called it with the rain. You start way back in the field, Steve. How are you going to get Jeff Gordon up to the front with strategy today?
Well, one beautiful thing about Pocono, if you're close enough to the front, you won't lose a lap pitting. You can race it a little bit like a road course. You can come real early, try to get your track position. But, you know, the DuPont Chevrolets just been a little bit off all weekend. We were okay on Friday, didn't get the qualifying spot we wanted, but I'd like to thank Chad. The guys at the 48, they tested real well. We brought a lot of their setup stuff back. I think we're head and shoulders above where we tested, and it's not where you start, it's where you finish. So we're hoping that works for us today.
What was your last second advice to Jeff real quick?
Just be patient. 500 miles around here, it seems like 2 races everywhere else. And don't panic, be patient, and he knows. He's done this a long, long time. He knows it's where we finish, and if we have a 10th place car, let's get 8th. If we get 8th place car, let's get 5th.
Bill, I know it's hard for those drivers to be patient. You're up there with 2 of them. They're very impatient, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's not even necessarily on the racetrack. Just over a lap to go before we get the green flag here at Pocono. Let's go back downstairs and check in on Matt Yoakum.
Bill, Kevin Harvick qualified in the 28th position, but he too will go to the back of the field. They had to change the battery on the grid, some type of electrical issue on the 29. They've got a good battery now, but he's got a lot of traffic in front of him.
Thanks, Matt. And there you see Harvick. So he will have to move to the back. Kevin Harvick dropping to the rear of the field. Kyle Busch is already back there. He had an incident in the first practice session here on Saturday. He's in the backup car. Sam Hornish in a backup car after a crash here on Saturday in the happy hour practice session. So that makes an already difficult task even harder. Larry, how about the battery issue on that 29?
Well, the bad thing is, as Matt pointed out, they're going to have to go to the rear of the field, but it's a pretty simple change. All they have to do is take the left rear tire off, and there's an aluminum door here with cam locks right in front of the left rear tire. There's the battery. They take that door off, and then what they do is they just reach in. It has like a Marine or Aero quick disconnect. They take that battery loose, they put the new one in, put the door back on, tire back on. No problem, no issue, except starting at the rear of this 43 car field.
Larry, what would be the reason for that?
Yeah, I don't understand it unless they left something on, Wally, because one of the things that these guys go through in their pre-race checklist is checking the voltage of the alternator when they're warming the engine up. So evidently something must have got left on that drew that battery down and the car wouldn't even crank.
Yep.
Thanks, Larry. Enjoy the race down there. Here's our race analysis for the Pocono Raceway. 500 miles on a 2.5 mile track, pit road speed 55 miles per hour, and that all-important pit window for fuel, 30 to 32 laps.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if something happens in that first, say, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 laps, the guys in the back, if they duck in and get fresh tires and the rest of the guys stay out, that could be the move of the day.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. And there's so many guys that have been well documented here that had to go to the back. And let me say this, so many good cars had to go to the back. And those guys can take advantage of that first 8 or 10 laps and be able to capitalize on it later in the race like Jeff Gordon did last year.
Apparently the ignition switch was left on the 29 car. That's what drained the battery. Quickly as they get ready for them to come get the green flag. 2 very important moments in this race will come early. Turn 1, getting through there, and who's going to have the patch when we get to turn 3.
Those are going to be critical times. I think we talked about it yesterday a little bit. You know, it's like Darlington when they switched the front stretch to the back stretch and they moved everything around. Everybody said, how are they going to get through that first corner? They'll find their way through this first corner a little bit better. The trick for me is when they get to that patch, seeing everybody trying to line up and stay on that patch. That's a great shot right there.
This is a cool shot. Kyle Busch, this is an overhead shot, and we've never done it before, and thank NASCAR and that team for letting us do it, so it should be fun to see what happens.
All kinds of ways to watch. Pace car to pit road, 500 miles at Pocono. They're going green on TNT. Through turn 3, Jimmy Johnson with the lead. Carl Edwards on the move.
Tell you what, Carl Edwards went to the bottom on that field, Kyle, and took off.
And I tell you, I pointed it out on the I thought Carl was going to force the 11 to go to the outside of the patch when they first got there, but Carl went to the bottom and hooked up on these new tires.
Yeah, new tires.
New tires, critical, critical. But we saw the outside line be the fastest line through 1 and 2. Very rarely do you see a start of a race where the outside line pulls away, except for like Daytona or Talladega, a place like that. So that was pretty strange. But that's where they've been running ever since they got here.
It's Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88, Regan Smith in the 01. Then the 84 of A.J. Allmendinger, who had an outstanding qualifying run. Qualifying here was rather bizarre because the guys that went early were fast, and some of the guys that went late were fast. The guys in the middle didn't have a real good run.
And it's a pretty consistent racetrack. It has been in the past, so it was kind of strange that you were good, bad, good, and it was all about the racetrack.
You know what I've already noticed, Kyle? Remember you used to go down in turn 2, and if you were on the outside and you had a guy on the inside, you had to let him go. Now, it seems like guys are wanting to stay on the outside because if they can go through 2 on the outside, they're in the right spot going into 3. Jeff Gordon was just doing that.
Yeah, that's a killer point because I never wanted to go on the outside of him. I didn't want him to use my car to get through to the tunnel.
On board with Tony Stewart as he tries to work his way through the field here early. Stewart comes in off the disappointment at Dover last Sunday. Caught up in that early race crash, finished 41st. 2 disappointing races in a row for Tony. The heartbreak at Charlotte, the wreck last week.
I think we talk a lot about the Gibbs organization and what Kyle Busch has done. But you look at the 20 car of Tony Stewart and Denny Hamlin, and there, but for just a little bit of luck, these guys would be sitting on 6 or 7 wins as an organization.
See Tony taking a look down there below the strip of asphalt they've laid down in 3.
You got to be a little bit crazy as a crew chief, okay? Because this is what I'm saying.
They say the same thing about drivers.
Yeah, but all week long you practice on the patch and they drop the green flag and you go to a totally different place on the racetrack and then complain because your car doesn't drive good. Typical drivers.
But they are trying that now because the grip is so good in those new tires.
It's probably going to, it's as good as it's going to get right now with these tires, like Kyle said earlier on the first lap. That's where you want to be down there.
Regan Smith in that 0-1. Good qualifying run out of him. Started from the 4th spot. On board again with Tony. Through the tunnel turn.
Just really going easy on that throttle right there. And that's just a fact. It's just no grip. You've got to just lay the gas down on the bottom. But a couple guys have done that with the 01. I'm not sure Regan Smith is handling right now because that's the second time he's been passed down there.
But you see him come back to the inside. That's almost a Tony Stewart slide move right there. And you heard guys, here they are 3 wide.
And Allmendinger doesn't care where they're running because he's going to go somewhere else.
He's going to go, but he caught him, like you said. Maybe the 01 checks up a little bit. Tony drives down in there.
Hang on, AJ.
That was almost the wrong kind of slide move.
And I think we're going to see a lot of that today.
Yeah, some of the drivers before talked about using the slide move up here in 3 and 4, going in across the flat, sliding back up to the grip. To the patch and getting the grip, and you kind of saw it with Tony, which made the 01 check up a little bit, and when he checked up, then the 84 got a run at him.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that a lot, not only in turn 3 but in turn 1.
Oh yeah.
Let's go back and look at that. A.J. Allmendinger in the 84 car, Tony Stewart in the 20 car.
And I don't think AJ he really didn't have the right arc getting into the corner because Tony was up there, so he had to pinch the car a little bit. Tony was there. He did a nice job, not only not wrecking the car, but keeping that off Tony Stewart.
He did a really good job.
That's a big sigh of relief if you're a Tony Stewart fan after what happened last week.
That's a big sigh of relief if you're an A.J. Allmendinger fan, okay? Tony's working that thing. That thing's a little bit out, it's a little bit back in. You can see the front wheels going left and right on it.
I think that's the way you're going to have to do it today. I mean, if you think you're going to get in the pits on the next pit stop and fix these cars, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, the sad part is we're only 4 or 5 laps into the race and they're already driving that way.
Jimmy Johnson continues to lead. Jeff Gordon, one of the drivers on the move, has gained 8 spots. On board with Gordon, a 24 DuPont Chevrolet. There's Dave Blaney in front of him. Ryan Newman in the 12 carrying the Kodak colors this week here in Pocono.
That's a really good shot of the patch, but you see Ryan come up off the corner and kind of gain on the 24 right there.
Let's check with Morty Snyder.
I just talked to Steve Letarte, and he told me about Friday's practice. They felt like they were pretty good in this 24 car on Friday's practice, but Jeff messed up the qualifying lap. Then yesterday, the car was complete junk. It didn't change a whole lot, so they weren't sure what direction to go. But Steve told me, I'm not really worried about it. This is how we've been all year long, about a 14th, 15th place car in practice. But lately, we've been racing much better. So far, Gordon going to the front, Bill.
It's where he finished the race 1 year ago. There you see Jeff Gordon. He's gained 7 positions. Harvick also forward 7. Early laps here at Pocono. Jimmy Johnson, the race leader, followed by Casey Kane, the pole sitter. You're watching the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series live on TNT. 9 laps complete here at Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania. Jimmy Johnson took the lead on the first lap over pole sitter Casey Kane. Johnson continues to lead. He has led every lap so far. Kane runs in second, closing but not catching.
Yeah, I think we'll see how this thing goes. It just seemed to me the longer the run, Casey's car was really strong if they won practice.
And even though we're 10 or 11 laps into the race, Casey's really good still through the corners. I think he's a little bit better through the corners than the 48 car. You saw him roll in through turn 3, but the 48 cars, he's got a little bit of horsepower when it comes to this long straightaway here.
That's Mark Martin looking for his first Pocono win.
Close a bunch of times.
Yeah. 6 second place finishes, no victories at this track. Behind him is Carl Edwards. We'll talk to him on the pace lap. Carl runs in the 4th spot.
Bill, Carl's car was just so consistent on Saturday. Right now, his biggest issue, the car is tight. He's losing ground to Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's closing in. And if you happen to hear his radio today on our broadcast, he calls each turn. He multiplies it by 2. Turn 1 is 1 and 2. The total turn is 3 and 4. And turn 3 is 5 and 6. He dialed a little rear brake into it, but it's still tight.
This is back up front. Jimmy Johnson with Casey Kane now there.
If he was out front, he'd be going. He's good through this corner. See him roll in there.
Hey, Casey, you're right, guys. He said, as hard as it is for me to get around the 48, I know I'm way faster than he is. I can't imagine what it's like back in the field. He said when when 48's in his lane, he can't go nowhere. We just stop right where he is right now.
He can't go nowhere?
Can't go nowhere. My point saying how bad he is.
I was going to say, everyone in North Carolina will understand that, so you can use it.
And they're the only ones that understand money anyway. Did you guys, are you taping that, what Kyle just did?
He just reached over his
What is that?
Is that brake?
No, that's his helmet.
Okay. That's an interesting stuff, just to show what on a restart when it snatches gears.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to, yeah.
Are we fixed?
Question all the time.
Did you tell that to everybody or just me? Back here at Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania, Jimmy Johnson continues to lead. We apologize for our audio difficulties. We hope to have those fixed for you.
I asked you if I could unplug this.
I told you not.
Yes.
I told you not to touch anything. Casey Kane has been working on Jimmy Johnson. Here's another battle. Regan Smith, A.J. Allmendinger. Bush right behind them.
Take a look.
A.J. tried this earlier.
Yeah, he sure did, and got loose, and he got loose right there. He's staying with it.
He just gets back in the gas. He's got some fun.
See, that's a slide job.
That's a slide job right
and
there.
we're going to see a lot of that today because I think that's the only way you can get away with it. I mean, that's how you're going to pass guys.
That's the only way to pass right now. These first few laps has been to make the guy that you're running at fear you. Scare you. And just you check up.
Seventh position. Looking back across the field for Kyle Busch. 18 car, men's ride.
I mean, I love that. That shot is going to be so cool in Sonoma. How do we get about 4 of those in the club?
That's an incredible shot. You can see where he's at. You see his legs down. You see the way he's sitting there.
He's talking on the radio, pretty much. That's easy.
Yeah. We've talked about how hard it is to drive this rig. He just reaches up with the right hand, reaches the inside. And you saw when he reached inside the steering wheel itself to kind of punch the button to be able to talk on the radio.
He's in the 36th spot, Marty.
Yeah, Bill, and he's saying the car just won't turn out there, and he had a little problems getting by Robbie Gordon. When these guys are in traffic, it's so hard to get around someone. You have to be so much faster than the car in front of you. And when you have a tight race car, that makes it even worse. In the team meeting this morning, Steve Addington, though, preached patience. He said it's a long race. It's going to be a long day. Don't worry about where we are early in the race. Let's focus on the big prize. We're running for a championship here. We don't have to win today. Let's try and get a top 10 out of this weekend.
Kyle, did you see what I saw?
Yes, I did. We would have seen that. No, we wouldn't.
It was shifting.
It was shifting, yep.
Now this is for the lead. Jimmy Johnson in the 48. Casey Kane in the 9.
Casey gets a little bit loose down there, and I think once Casey gets by the 48, I think he's going to go. It's just, and I believe the 48 just pointed him by and said, go.
In case he does, for the tunnel turn, it's still the old way. You didn't have the preferred line through the tunnel turn on old tires. You don't want to really force the issue on old tires across the tunnel.
Kane started from the pole, but Johnson got the lead on the opening lap.
Now we'll see. Right here looked like Casey was really, really strong here. Be interesting to see this where he pulls out a little bit. Yeah, just loses the 48 car a little bit getting off turn 3.
It's like when he was behind the 48, he would go to the gas early and maybe pick up a little bit of push because he was in bad air and it would slide the nose, and it looked like the 48 would just drive away from him down the straightaway. But we commented, you know, it's like if he gets in clean air, just go to the gas and stay there, he'll be able to get away a little bit.
Casey had a big weekend at Charlotte. Disappointment at Dover. Check with Marty.
Well, I was going to follow up on that shifting. I heard a few teams thinking about shifting today, but what it does when you go into turn 3, that puts a whole lot of RPM on that third gear. One crew chief told me this morning it's like playing Russian roulette. It can help you, but it can certainly hurt you, right, Larry Mack?
Well, I think what we're going to see, we're almost over halfway through this run. And I've been watching the scoreboard, and the race pace has slowed down over 2 seconds. When the pace slows down, the miles per hour and RPM comes down. I think it can get power shifting. Remember, you can't run an overdrive transmission. He has shifted from 3rd to 4th, which is 1-to-1. But Wally and Kyle, I think if we get that same shot when he's on fresh tires and clean air, and he's down there running in the mid to high 54s, it may be a little harder to shift because I think the RPM would be way too high then. I think you can only do it when the pace slows down.
And that's a great point, Larry. We had him on the ISO up here and was watching some of the stuff he was doing. The first few laps, he did not shift. He really started shifting, and I thought he really started shifting when he got in traffic, when he started working Robbie Gordon, when he started working the 29 car and some of those, just to give him a little extra oomph up off the corner. Now, the last few laps, it seems he shifted almost every lap. So it's kind of like, you know, at Darlington you'd run, and this is a crazy thing to do and a stupid thing to do. You have 2 ignition boxes, and you would run on new tires with 36, 38 degrees of time, and then knock 3 or 4 degrees out with the next ignition box, which would keep the tires from spinning, so they help you.
Right. That's a good point. And all you're trying to do is it actually helps your traction. That's what you're looking for.
It helps traction, and you maximize your RPM, and that's what he's trying to do by shifting.
It's on board with Denny Hamlin, just to the right from Kurt Busch. By the way, Casey Kane's last lap was about 3 seconds slower than his pole winning speed. Check with Lindsay.
you were talking about Denny Hamlin, and what he had just said on his radio is that the car is starting to free up a little bit in turn 1. He had initially been concerned, saying to his crew chief, Mike Ford, make sure that you keep me abreast of when there are cars diving below me in turn 3. They just got on and said the plan is to bring that car in about 10 laps for a pit stop. That would be about lap 28. Bill?
You know, you listen to him talk about the car being freed up a little bit in turn 1. It's okay. These guys suffered through turn 1, and we were talking about it before. You've got bank down there. There's 14 degrees. There's enough to catch you down there. We saw AJ get caught by the bank. You slide up, so it slows you down, the bank in itself. The corners that you don't want to be free and you really want to get good grip is this corner right here, turn 3. You really want to be able to drive off this corner and get down the straightaway. And we've seen since Casey got in front of the 48, he's able to maximize that corner. And he's just a tough fast.
Yeah, because this leads to that long straightaway. You want to go fast somewhere, it's on this long straightaway. That's where you want to get off at turn 3.
Pocono has been won from the pole 12 times, including 5 times in the last 14 races. Pole sitter Casey Kane out. Casey Kane is the race leader with 23 laps complete. TNT Sports at the Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania for NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing, presented by EA Sports NASCAR 09.
And like we said, we thought once he get out front, he'd stretch a little bit. He's got a little over 3 seconds now on second place, Jimmy Johnson.
Johnson runs in the 2nd spot. Mark Martin is 3rd. Carl Edwards 4th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 5th position. And here comes Tony Stewart. He runs 6th.
Allmendinger doing a good job, man. He's staying right there in 7th.
Our Toyota driver update. See Tony in the 6th, and AJ, and Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, some of these cars still look like they're going down the racetrack sideways. Like Allmendinger's car.
They do. You know, and a part of it's a little optical when you stand behind them in the garage area. The right side corner panel is really straight. They have really straightened those out. So the rear's offset a touch body wise, but then when you put that rear end in there with that little bit of toe in it, it just sends you around.
There are 3 guys running in the top 11 doing a real good job so far. Joe Nemechek is in 11th. Regan Smith is 8th, and AJ Allmendinger is 7th. Marty.
Yeah, let's give some credit to him. Good call there, Wally and Bill, and he's done a terrific job. He hasn't said a whole lot on the radio. Had that anxious moment early in the race, but the car, he said just moments ago, just a little bit tight, but they've done an outstanding job qualifying up front, keeping the car up front. I asked AJ one goal for today earlier. He said laps. That's all I need. Little seat time.
You got Scott Riggs running in the 12th spot.
You got Dario running 14th. I mean, there's some guys that had to qualify on time, that put in really good laps, and you thought it and you say, okay, they're star cars. They got to qualify on time. And then all of a sudden, when they drop the green flag, these guys have stayed right there.
And Dario Franchitti back in the car this week after getting injured earlier in the season. Has not had a lot of laps, obviously, in recent weeks, and not a lot of experience here, really.
No, not a lot of experience. And to come back from an ankle injury, to come to a place where you're using this much brake and you're driving the car the way you are, you know, I think I'd have picked a place like Daytona or Talladega where it's just right-footed driving, not really left-footed driving.
Franchitti making his Pocono debut here this afternoon. There he is in the 40 car. Started in the 12th position. Currently runs 14th. Getting closer and closer to green flag pit stops, it looks like. We'll take a break, come back to Pocono. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. Back at Pocono, under caution for debris, field to pit road. Here's Matt.
First car to hit his stall is Carl Edwards in 4th, as the car was just too tight, especially on what he considers the most important turn 3. They tried to free it up so that way he can get back in the gas so much sooner. Ralph?
Jimmy Johnson has been starting to get freed up. He's not sure what's going on because it was loose going into 1, so they're going to go up on the left rear panhard bar. Marty.
Kenny Francis, the crew chief for Casey Kane, told everybody to take a deep breath and relax on the stop. Took him a while to get the lead, but once he did, he was able to stay out front. He said it's a little bit tight, exiting every corner up half around on the track bar. So far, a good stop for these guys. They will win the race off pit road over Jimmy Johnson, Lindsay.
Marty, Denny Hamlin's car was in and out. He had said that he had a skating condition in the back of his car, so they made an air pressure adjustment, took down the track bar a hair, and they're trying to correct that issue.
Thanks, Lindsay. Casey Kane wins the race off of pit road. Hearing that the 6 of David Reagan missed his pit stall. We'll check into that, update the running order, and tell you about Scott Riggs and Martin Truex Jr., who'd already been on and off of pit road. TNT Sports at the Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. 14th race of the NASCAR Sprint Cup season. Under caution. Field has been on and off of pit road, and a variety of things have occurred. Scott Riggs pitted before the caution, came back out as the caution came out. He scored as the race leader. Now on pit road, this is the team of Martin Truex.
And they have a penalty right here. You see this right here. The catch can has to be engaged when you're fueling, or when a fuel can is engaged in the car. When that happens, then that's a penalty. That's a pit violation as far as the equipment violation.
Tail end of the longest line for Truex, who would have been at the front of the field. Now watch for the 6 car of David Reagan. Trying to get into his pit stall, overshot it. Backs up. And works his way in there.
But he did a good job. He was calm. The crew was calm. You saw the guys standing there with the jack. They were all calm about it. When you get a little hectic, that's a bad sign.
And I'll tell you what, I want to say something about this guy. I've been watching him. He's been doing a great job this year. He's been doing it quietly. He's been making some really, really good runs. And I think David Reagan has just been super.
Yeah, and I agree with you. He's a different driver, and that's a different team than they were last year. It's like somewhere over the winter, when they came back as a mature team, as a mature driver, and those guys have capitalized on it.
All right, let's check with Larry.
Well, Bill, it was like the perfect scenario for Scott Riggs in that 66 car. Remember, Matt Borland is the interim crew chief, Booty Barker on a 6-race suspension. It's almost like at a road course. It takes so long to get around this 2.5-mile racetrack. If you're running up in the top 10 or 12, you can make a green flag pit stop and stay on the lead lap. He had just hit pit road as the caution came out. We were almost to that window of green flag pit stops. It was absolutely the perfect scenario. Almost ended up being the perfect scenario for Kevin Mannion, Martin Truex Jr. in the 1, but unfortunately they had the penalty that you guys just showed.
So Truex Jr. goes from 1st to 42nd. David Reagan will restart 41st or thereabouts. Waiting for the scoring to shuffle itself here. So for a guy like David Reagan, it's not just learning the tracks and the cars, it's also learning how to get yourself in and out of the pits at certain places as well.
And a place like this, you would think this pit road is so big, it would be easy. But it's so long that when you look down pit road, it's tough to see your pit sign, man. It's really tough. As tough here as anywhere you go. And he just got 1 car length past it, but he was good. He was calm. He waited, backed up on pit road, and didn't get in anybody's way.
And everybody and their brothers on pit road.
Exactly.
Back to green. Put Truex in the 43rd spot, Rudeman 42nd, David Reagan 41st on the restart. And Scott Riggs with the lead, Casey Kane wants it.
Casey's got to be thinking a little bit here early in the race. What do I got to do to get clean air on fresh tires? Because he's not had clean air yet on fresh tires.
Started from the pole, but Jimmy Johnson, who started outside the front row, took the lead on the opening lap. About 66, Marty.
Well, Bill, you talked about him pitting a lap before everybody else while we were still green. Part of that reason was because they had paper on the front of the car covering up the grill, so the water temperature was going up. So sometimes it's good to be lucky, but Scott Riggs certainly has had a very good car all weekend. And I think you'll see Casey Kane be a little more aggressive early in this run. Remember how long it took him to get by Jimmy Johnson? He wants to get by Scott Riggs fairly early if he can.
Well, he was a little bit aggressive there in turn 3, Marty. He's going to pay the price for it because it looks like Jimmy Johnson may just steal that spot away from him going down into 1.
3,700 foot straightaway. Johnson takes the 2nd position.
And Jimmy Johnson's car was a little bit better like the first 10 or 15 laps. It was at the first.
It was at the first. On new tires, it was a lot better. And you saw Casey. He dove in under the 66, and he thought about it, and with those left sides on the old pavement and the right sides on the new pavement, it just walked up. And I'm telling you, he got a run up off turn 1 there.
Into the tunnel turn.
Jimmy gave that up a little bit, but he didn't want to give it up as much as he did earlier on old tires, because Jimmy could have almost went down in there on the outside of it.
It's also only lap 33.
33 of 200, so give it up, Jimmy. You're all right, man.
See Mark Martin in that 8 car running in the 4th position. And Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards. Allmendinger's team with a good pit stop kept him in the top 10.
I was impressed with Allmendinger's pit stop, because a lot of times you see guys or teams that aren't used to running up front. They can run up front until the first pit stop, and then the team takes you out of the equation and moves you back to where you should be, or where you run a lot of times. But his team moved him forward. They did a great job. The Red Bull group did a great job at the All-Star Challenge pit crew.
But the flip side of that is true too. If you're not running up front, a lot of times nobody sees your pit stops, and they don't know how good your guys are doing.
And that's true. But I do believe this too. I believe that shows that whether you're running 35th or 40th or 25th, these crews are all pretty equal too, like you see these cars and drivers are.
We talked about the 66 car. They came into this race in 36th position in owner points. So this is a big run here for Riggs.
And we talked about it. Riggs had worked their way into the top 35 because of some of the stuff that went on at Charlotte and some of the penalties they experienced.
150 points worth of penalties.
150 points knocks you back out to having to qualify, and that's a bad place to be. And Riggs, they were there last year, and they struggled to work their way, and Booty and those guys worked really hard. To having a great run today, or running, if he can continue and close on this deal, will be a big boost for that team.
Casey Kane looking for the lead once again. Inside of Riggs as they head for turn 2. Riggs will give this up.
And Casey's car is just really, really good right now. Made that look pretty easy.
So Casey Kane returns to the lead. Earnhardt Jr. inside of Mark Martin. And Carl Edwards thinking about coming along. Look out.
About driving up there in front of Mark. I think he had enough room, but he wasn't quite sure.
And maybe he's looking at the same thing, saying we're only 30-some odd laps into the race. I don't need to slide now.
Sam Hornish in the 77 car has picked up 6 positions since the restart. Greg Biffle 4.
There you go, man. Doing it there. That's an awesome line through 1 and 2. Do it awesome.
Earnhardt.
You can see everybody continues to run that patch right now. You know, nobody's really venturing too far, especially when they're by themselves. They're not venturing too far off of it. You'll see a couple of them drop their left sides off or their right sides. And it was interesting when the race started, a lot of guys went down there early, but these guys now have kind of fallen into a little bit of a rhythm here, and they're kind of hanging close to it.
And it's going to be interesting to see how this race plays out just for that reason, exactly what they're going to do in the second half of this race or in the last 50 miles.
What's going to happen when that patch rubbers up? What's going to happen if that patch begins to come apart a little bit? There's a lot of things that are going to play out in the second part of this race that won't be here now.
It's an endurance race. You got to be patient at Pocono. You got to be fast, though. Casey Kane's out front.
The Pocono 500, presented by EA Sports NASCAR 09, is brought to you by Castrol GTX. You can't see sludge coming, but it can rob gas mileage and hold your car back. Get Castrol GTX and stop sludge in its tracks. It's more than just oil, it's liquid engineering. By Burger King, stay up late with the King. Burger King late night hours let you have it your way. And in part by Super 8, see you along the way.
39 laps are complete at the Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania. We're under caution for Kurt Busch. Let's take a look. Interesting.
Looks like all his tires are up. Looks like he just got loose, and man, that's the last thing you want to do with one of these cars, the way these splitters are. is get in the grass because it just digs in like a snowplow. But he may have got away with it. Oh, he was up pretty high.
Yeah, he was up. He was up. And you're right, Wally. He got away with it. Sam Hornish did not get away from it in practice yesterday and just dug in and ripped the nose off the car, which was a team car. Maybe they reinforced these things after, after Sam tore his stuff up.
He got air in it, dug in, and he saved it.
Watch
not saved
Montoya.
it, but I mean, it didn't rip the splitter off.
Save the car, yeah. Yeah, very similar to what Hornish did yesterday, and they went to a backup car.
Now the right rear right there is low or flat.
Kurt,
but I don't know if he did that because he went after he spun it and locked it down, or maybe he did have a tire that was low going in there.
Sorry about that, Wally. He was running in the 12th position. Got to clean all that grass out of there.
He's got one of the supports there.
The center support's broken.
Yeah,
the center support's broken right there. Yeah, they're all broken. You can see all the struts are broken. Yeah, and that's bad because this thing will. What the struts do is they hold the splitter steady, and you'll get into that harmonics thing where it will just vibrate up and down, up and down, up and down. And when it starts doing that, it'll break a lot of stuff from ductwork to how it's connected to the upper part of the body. So that can be something that they may have to come back in and put struts on.
And once that thing's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, then it takes a long time to fix.
Well, it's just like we were talking yesterday. Hornish, it's hard to believe you can spin at a place, tear your splitter off, and have to go to a backup car. And that's exactly what happened to Hornish yesterday. That's how critical that is.
No lucky dog. They come to pit road. Matt.
Carl Edwards had faded from 6th back to 9th as he peels off to his stop. They are calling a 2-tire change going to go on the jack. Edwards said they had made the car freer into 1, but he still needed help off turn 3. It was still way too tight. He's away, Ralph.
Turn 1 has been the problem for Jimmy Johnson all day long. They have not been able to figure out what to do with it. They only take 2 tires and send him back underway. Marty?
In honor of our buddy BP, there will be a smorgasbord of strategy down here on pit road. Some with 2, as you guys have already talked about. Casey Kane, the leader, though, will take 4. Kenny Francis said, I think 4 is the best way to go here. It's a conservative route, but the best way to go. Lindsay?
Marty, Denny Hamlin had inched up to 8th position. They're saving time to gain some more. They just brought him in, gave him 2 tires, topped him off with fuel, said there was a piece of tape behind the splitter on the brake, but right now, not making any changes on that.
Well, I think the race has officially started. Gonna shuffle the running order here using pit strategies. Some guys taking 2, some guys taking 4.
Ryan Langley, front tire changer for the 84, going to work.
Under caution at Pocono. Our aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV, now broadcasting over 90 national HD channels. High-definition coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series continues from Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. 42 laps are complete. With Martin Truex Jr. scored as the race leader, he did not pit. Remember, he had to start at the tail end of the longest line and really only had about a dozen green flag laps on those tires, but it's the tires and the fuel.
That's still too many here.
That's a dozen more than I want on my tires. Having guys right behind you with either 2 new ones or 4 new ones, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays. It's like you say, now the games begin. You know what I mean? Because you got 2 tires on some guys, 4 tires on some guys. You got guys out there that didn't pit at all, and believe me, there's a lot of pit crews, or a lot of crew chiefs on pit road that are going to be watching to see how far the 1 drops, and are going to see how far the 48 goes forward with just 2 tires.
I think the guys that didn't pit are going to be asking their crew, why didn't we pit again and get tires?
What were we thinking?
The only guy that didn't come to pit road was Truex. He's already slipped to 2nd behind Jimmy Johnson.
Here's where it'll show in the next few laps is turn 3.
On board with Tony Stewart, looking forward at Mark Martin.
Hey, he got through there pretty good. Of course, Mark's his teammate, so Mark's giving him a little bit of room.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Mark didn't force an issue on him in turn 3.
You're still going to have to give a lap or 2 before you get these things up to pressures and temperatures and all.
Here's AJ still hammering that inside,
I like that bottom.
Mark Martin looking to the inside, and Tony Stewart thinking about maybe going inside of Mark.
I don't think there's any maybes about this one.
Yeah, now this is old Pocono racing right there, where everybody was like, are you going to let up? Am I going to let up? Who's going to let up? How are we going to do when we get here? You see Truex lose 3 positions between turn 1 and the tunnel turn. And that's not all tires. Let's be clear about that. But those guys just got a really good run on it.
Well, they know that he didn't stop.
Yeah.
Here comes Denny Hamlin in the 11.
Whoa! I think Truex wish he stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. He can't get up off. You just can't get up off the corner like you want to on tires. You know, basically 10 or 12 laps is a third of a run. And that's a lot, man. That's a lot of laps on a set of tires.
Yeah, you think it's bad now? Let's wait. Let's check back in about 20 laps, see where he's at.
The best he can hope for is that they run another 15 laps or so, and then he catches a caution, and he doesn't lose a ton of positions, so he gained a little bit.
Hamlin and Riggs got by, and now it's Jeff Gordon, who has really marched forward after starting very deep in this field, 34th. And did get some help with pit strategy.
Of everybody, I've been impressed with the 24. They've had good pit stops. Jeff's passed a lot of people. He's driven up through there. And he's one that has come forward when some of the other guys that started at the back have not marched through the field as fast as what I guess I anticipated that they would.
And here comes Casey Kane. He's got 4 tires. So we're going to say the no tire.
I think we already said that to Kyle and I.
Oh.
Ooh, Kyle Busch.
Caution is out.
That's a hard. Until we see it, it's hard to see really what happened here.
And Mr. Truex is extremely happy about this caution.
Go to the garage. Go to the garage.
You can see from his head movement there, he's a little upset.
He is the championship leader, halfway to the cutoff point for the chase. Jamie McMurray in the 26.
Yeah, he was trying to squeeze in a spot that wasn't there, and McMurray didn't give him any room. But still, I mean, he drove up into the 26 car.
Yeah, he come up from the bottom of the racetrack. You see him coming up. McMurray's going to the right there. McMurray turns right. It's plain as day right there to try to get away from him. But McMurray's not going to check up and give him that hole either. You know what I mean?
And that was a pretty aggressive turn to the right, too.
Yeah, that was a really aggressive
That wasn't like
move.
I'm coming, giving me some room. That's like I'm coming, you better back off.
On board.
And you heard, you know, it's hard to tell with the spotters and everything, but he just came up the racetrack.
I didn't hear the spotter. What did he say, Kyle?
He said 26, and about the time he said 26, he turned over. He got into the 26. Yeah. He was making a move as the spotter was talking. You know what I mean?
Kyle Busch finished second in the truck race in Texas on Friday. Struggled a little bit Saturday night in the Nationwide Series and has trouble here in Pocono. Our TNT race family in Pocono. The Pocono 500 under caution after point leader Kyle Busch hit the wall along the front stretch after contact with Jamie McMurray. Let's take a look at our AT&T Race Talk poll question. How many races will Kyle Busch win this season? You can text the word race to 191 on your AT&T wireless phone and vote. One race he won't win is this one. Take another look.
See him down on the bottom. Now a spotter's trying to keep him up to date on where these guys are. And Kyle obviously thought he was clear, but he wasn't. But that wasn't Jamie's fault.
That was not Jamie McMurray's fault. You can see.
Let's
from
listen.
26 outside, that's up.
Well, then there's a little bit more before that.
Not gonna be clear, maybe. Not a run.
That's Kyle being frustrated. You hear the spotter say 26, and then he kind of catches his breath. See how it buckled? I mean, it's hard to tell right there. Wally and I were pointing at something. Sorry about that. But sorry, man.
Not his belt buckle.
But no, not his belt buckle. But you hear him say 26, and then you hear the frustration in Kyle's voice say, "Not going to be clear, maybe 26 out there." One of those deals, and that's just being frustrated at something that takes you out of a race.
So the field under caution here at Pocono. Several drivers have taken the opportunity to come to pit road. So this is where the strategy will change dramatically with 49 laps complete. Jimmy Johnson is the race leader. Then it's Tony Stewart, Mark Martin, Carl Edwards, and Denny Hamlin. Scott Riggs, Jeff Gordon, Casey Kane, Matt Kenseth, Greg Biffle. The top 10. See the lights out on the pace car. Be going green this time.
And I think Truex came in and got tires, but I couldn't be mistaken.
He came to pit road. He was one of the cars that came to pit road.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think you're mistaken.
I think he got 4 and 1 in the trunk.
Yeah. He wanted to make sure he got an opportunity this time.
There's Martin, and he scored in the 30th position. Remember, he had to start at the tail end of the longest line.
And this is when you feel like Superman. Yeah. You have 4 tires on. Guys in front of you don't, or they've got older tires on. This is when you make the hay.
But one thing is, there's 43 other teams out there, 42 since the 8 teams in the garage area, that learned off what Truex did. They won't be doing that.
Exactly.
The rest of the day. I don't think you'll see it unless there's 3 or 4 laps to go and we're getting ready for a late race deal. You won't see somebody stay out and try to keep
It won't
position.
be a driver's vote.
No, it will not be a driver's vote.
So the field works its way through turn 3. Work out the numbers for you, but basically the guys at the front half of the field opted to stay out on the track. One quarter of the race complete.
It should be good.
That's pretty cool right there.
Yeah,
This is the way it used to be at Pocono when you come here with those.
But this is the feeling that you kind of get in this car, isn't it? When you're heading down into turn 1, that you're going to see a little bit more of that kind of stuff?
I was hoping that as the race went on, we would see a lot more of what we're seeing right now. And it has been. If you go back to the restart of the race, they didn't do any of this on the restart. They were very tentative getting into turn 1 and turn 3. All of a sudden, they've got some laps under their belt running in close proximity to each other. And now they're diving to the bottom. You see Carl on the bottom right there. You see the 12 car on the bottom still running. These guys are venturing back down. You see Truex with those 4 fresh tires gone back to the bottom. So these guys are venturing out of their comfort zone, which was the high side of the racetrack.
And we got a quick look there at Kurt Busch, who currently runs in the 27th position, and his guys on pit road did a real good job fixing the front nose of that car, the splitter.
Well, they really did, and I thought it was going to take a lot longer, but they came out with the drill, and they just drilled 3 or 4 new ones in, and he's good to go.
It was amazing. I'm going to get that. You know, they just came out, and instead of putting on the other things, putting on the other braces that they had, they drilled straight down into the splitter. You see them drilling this piece. They drill it straight down and connect it to the top of the bumper, which is such a cool idea. I'm going to take this back. Everybody at Petty Enterprises that is watching this, we need some of these things because I've been known to run over things and tear the splitter off these cars. But this is such a quick fix. And if you look at it when they all back away, it shouldn't affect the handling of the car hardly at all.
And you can't underscore the point enough, as you see Jeff Gordon battling with Casey Kane in the upper left, that those splitters are so fragile, it doesn't take a lot to damage them. Marty?
And let's give tremendous credit to Pat Tryson and his crew. Kurt was obviously very upset on the radio, as you would imagine, Bill. Very upset with himself, kind of got angry on the radio. But Pat Tryson the entire time stayed calm and never got over anxious about things. They came down, they made 3 separate stops, fixed that front splitter, kept him on the lead lap, and maybe kept him in contention for this win.
That's how Pat is, though. I mean, Pat's one of the most common things. If Pat ever got mad, I would leave the county. Because I think he could really get mad. But it takes a lot to get him upset.
It does.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy that when he gets mad, you don't need to be anywhere around him. I don't think I've ever seen him in all the years that I've ever been around be upset coming out of the track. I've seen him all but suspended and put on probation, and he just, yeah, that's the way it is. I'm just going to go home now, and I'll watch you guys on TV.
Greg Biffle with a nice move there to pick up a couple of spots. Biffle in the 16. That's Kenseth behind him. That's Gordon and Earnhardt, teammates out of Hendrick Motorsports.
I'm going to tell you something. The 24 car is struggling a little bit after this restart. He's lost 3 or 4 positions just in the last lap and a half or 2 laps since we've been sitting here watching. Once the 9 car got around him, these other 3 guys have driven pretty much around him.
Gordon runs in the 11th.
See, we'll take a ride with Jeff Gordon. Goes into the tunnel turn here. On the throttle, a little bit of brake. Let it float down in. Easily. There's a 3rd spot right there. Denny Hamlin takes it from Mark Martin.
And here comes Carl Edwards. You watching Carl, Matt?
Bill, he's multitasking from inside that race car right before the restart. He now has Mark Martin back in front of him. He lost him for 2 laps, but he says, you know, I got a weird feeling. I have a hankering for some steakums for some reason. But he does say also, keep an eye, there may be some weather in the area. And then on top of that, he says, my car is still a little tick on the tight side off turn 3. We're going to need to work on that a little more on the next stop.
This is for 6th right here. Scott Riggs in the 66, Casey Kane, the pole sitter, in the 9. Budweiser Dodge gets the position. They head for turn 3.
You know, Denny's one of those guys that we talked to him in some of the pre-race stuff, and he was just really, it almost looks like he's got a little damage on the right front there. Look at the right front of this car. It's caved in. He's gotten into somebody on a restart. Now, it doesn't appear to be hurting him because he's driven up to 3rd place, but this thing is caved in right there on the corner.
Well, since you brought it up, let's see if we can find out how that happened. Watch Hamlin pulling out of his pit stall.
Wow. That'll cause some damage.
Lindsay?
Yeah, you guys are exactly right, and we talked about that, actually. I talked about that a little bit with his crew on that last stop, because they saw the damage from the first stop that was done there to the right front. They made a decision. They were talking about possibly bringing Denny in to work on it, and they were going back and forth about if they were going to fix it or not, but said it probably wouldn't be impacting him that much, so they decided, of course, to stay out. They were going to follow the leader, and if he came in, they were going to bring that car down on pit road.
And that's one of those deals where he may not hurt him at all. It may help him.
Yeah.
You know, they never know.
You never know, and you don't know. And I don't think we all have enough experience with this car to know how much that does hurt or help. You know what I mean? It's not like the old car where that would have been a critical flaw in the downforce of the front of these cars. You would have lost 50 counts, 70 counts of downforce on the front. So it would have been a big deal.
This is the battle for 5th. Casey Kane, Carl Edwards.
Not much of a battle.
That was a 70 car of Jason Leffler that Hamlin had contact with on pit road. Matt? Oh, trouble. That's Sam Hornish in the 77.
Patrick Carpentier in the 10 was involved in that.
Caution is out.
Stay low.
There's a splitter. He's losing a couple of struts there, but still saved it. And yeah, just some contact there. Hornish got into the 10 car of Patrick Carpentier.
This is in turn 1. Again, Sam in a backup car after a crash in practice yesterday. So contact on the track brings out the caution. Jimmy Johnson is the race leader. Then Tony Stewart, Denny Hamlin, Mark Martin, and Casey Kane, the top 5 at Pocono. TNT Sports back at the Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania under caution. After Patrick Carpentier and Sam Hornish went around in turn 1, the field has been on and off of pit road very quickly. And a number of different strategies playing out here in the first half of this race at Pocono. Jimmy Johnson got off of pit road first, so let's get some pit road updates, starting with Matt.
Carl Edwards still trying to make his way to the front. The car still pretty decent. Some slight adjustments, air pressure, and also they were multitasking with their water bottle pole. They had a water bottle, a sports drink, and then also a bag of ice. The temperatures are pretty warm here at Pocono. Lindsay?
Oh, right they are, Matt. That sounds good right about now. Denny Hamlin came into his stop. They gave him 4 tires fuel. He said he's a little bit tight off 1 and 2, kicking you-know-what through 3. But about what we talked about, the right front, they said a little rub on the outside, but it looks all good. To Marty.
Well, Lindsay, unfortunately, Casey Kane is not done pitting. He will come to pit road this time. At the last second, Kenny Francis called off a 4-tire stop, changed it to a 2-tire stop. Problem was, they already had 3 lug nuts off of the left front tire, so now they've got to come back in, change those left sides for Casey Kane. He will be way back in the field, but obviously does have a very fast race car. Bill?
Thanks, Marty, and here is the stop.
Oh, wow.
And that boy's lucky he didn't get his hand broken, because a lot of times you'll be on the, you know, the outside of the track, and you'll be on the inside of the track, and you'll be able to get your hand broken. And that boy, he didn't get his hand broken. He was on the inside of the track.
Yeah.
And that boy's lucky he didn't get his hand broken, because a lot of times you'll be on the, on the lug nut when the guy gets ready to pull forward, and that's just miscommunication right there.
5, 4,
He's
3,
the pole sitter,
2.
has led 19 laps so far today. Now they go to the left side and complete the stop. Brian Vickers did not stop. He scored as the race leader. Let's check with Larry.
Well, that's what I was going to point out, Bill, is we go to the Brian Vickers 83 car that stayed out, Kevin Hamlin. Now, we know that did not work out for Martin Truex Jr. and Kevin Mannion earlier in that one car. They were very glad to get that caution. But the 83 car, they pitted the last time when the caution came out on lap 46. They pitted at lap 48. So about half the laps on their tires that basically the one car had earlier. So this may not be quite the disaster that it was on the one car, but I still think he'll probably lose some position. But guys, it just looks like there's no substitute for being out in clean air.
Larry, are you sure they're not coming in this time?
They may be. They may have just stayed out to get the 5 points, but you know, they've already led that lap, so I don't know. We'll have to see if they do come to pit road.
And you talked about the damage to the front of Denny Hamlin's car. And just about as you were talking that, on lap 53, we're working 60 right now, he ran his fastest lap of the race.
And so obviously it's not hurt his speed. And it was funny because the reason I even noticed it when I was looking at it was he was down under the 8 car, and it's just the way the reflection was. It says, you know, so it's there, but it's not killed him. And obviously they've not even tried to fix it.
About a little more contact on pit road.
Wow, there's a traffic jam. And the 6 went to move to not hit the cone and ran right into Jeff Burton. Burton obviously not real thrilled with that.
Burton cut back in, but Burton doesn't know why he turned left either. You know, Burton doesn't realize that he's trying to avoid something. And you know, once again, this is such a huge pit road. You would think there's no way people can run into each other on pit road. And we see more things at this racetrack and more bizarre things happen on pit road than almost any other pit road we run.
And Brian Vickers did stayed out.
Here's today's Aflac trivia question. Who has the most starts at Pocono? Read the question carefully.
Ever?
Ever.
In the history of all time.
In NASCAR.
Oh, in NASCAR. See, once again, there we go. So you throw another kink into the question that I have no clue about.
Who has the most Sprint Cup races, starts rather, at Pocono? See, it said it right there. That was the call.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're going to give him the answer already?
Yeah, what okay. I don't know.
Guess, come on.
Oh, there we go. How about Ricky Rudd? That's cool. That's pretty amazing.
I don't get it.
I want to chime in something here. They were talking about Carl getting a Powerade and a water or whatever. And the other thing that was interesting was what? What did he get?
Ice.
Ice pack.
Right.
All right. And a lot of people don't realize that. Yeah, a driver will ask for an ice bag during the race, and especially under caution, because you can lay it on your neck while you're riding around under the caution, or you can unzip your uniform and put it right down between your shoulder or your shoulder harnesses, and it keeps you cool.
Adding a lap here, staying under caution. We'll take a break. You're watching NASCAR from Pocono live on TNT. Still under caution here at Pocono. 42 cars are scored on the lead lap. There's no lucky dog. The only car not on the lead lap, Kyle Busch, back in the garage after contact with Jamie McMurray that put the 18 into the wall. Update from Ralph.
Bill, they've absolutely emptied the toolbox back here in the 18 garage area. You can see they're taking the entire front nose section of this car off. They've been hacking away at it ever since Kyle came screaming back into the garage area. Just about everything in the front of the car except for the engine has been damaged at some point in time or another during that incident. Even in the back end here, word is they're thinking they may have to change out the entire rear end of the car, the rear housing. They're going to put this new nose on in place of the one that just came off. Here come the guys to grab it. Kyle, meanwhile, is up in the hauler taking a look at the video, Matt, trying to figure out what happened.
Ralph, issues on that last pit stop for Kevin Bono Mannion and the one team. What happened?
What hasn't happened today? I mean, it's been, you know, we made a quick pit stop on lap 27. Next thing you know, the caution comes out. Everything's cool. We're going to be the leader. And had a pit road violation with the man with the catch can. He slipped and fell down. He got back up, stuck the catch can in, but that's a penalty, having it out, not during the whole time during fueling. And then the last pit stop, we just got blocked in. So when you qualify as poorly as we did, you know, you're stuck back here. And the 16 was doing 4 tires, and he was just pitted out a little bit, and we had to come in at a different angle and had to back up. It's just Pocono and different strategy, gas only, 2 tires, 4 tires. People, it's just really difficult to pass. So trying anything we can to get our track position back, and we're 70 laps into it, and we're back to where we started. So we'll just see what. Hopefully, the second half of the race goes better.
They're just hitting reset here, but they were going for 2 tires on that last stop to try to pick up some track position, and that issue on pit road cost them.
And to close the loop on the 18 car real quick, you ask why they're cutting the nose off and putting another nose on. The problem is there's a minimum speed that NASCAR has implemented, and we've already documented how slow the speeds are slowing down anyhow. They're just barely running minimum speed. What NASCAR has told them in the driver's meeting, they're just barely running their minimum speed with the regular stuff. So if you go back out there with a crash car, there's no way they're going to let you run like that.
And just to point something out, Kyle, when you play with the toys up here,
they'll
bury you in the truck. No,
I will
don't
quit.
quit.
I'll quit.
But they will bury you in the truck.
I will quit.
For
I'm
the
not
fun
touching
of it
anything
only.
else.
You got to keep trying. You got to learn, right? You got to learn.
I'm getting ready to go to the toys right now.
The Fresh Start is brought to you by Subway Restaurant. Subway, eat fresh. Green flag back in the air at Pocono.
48 jumps out right away, trying to take that spot away from Vickers. He wants to be in that clean air.
And the situation here is, again, you have a number of cars that took 4 tires, some that only took 2. The 83, he's the guy that didn't stop.
Didn't stop.
Didn't stop. And what did Larry say about that?
It may not be as bad for the 83 as it was for the 1, but it's looking awfully bad for the 83 right now.
Vickers hanging in second. Matt Kenseth on the march. That's 17.
See how they're going side by side through there? I mean,
yeah.
I know it's on fresh tires and stuff,
but you know what? Maybe with the old car, and I'm not raced the new car up here. I'll say that. But maybe with the old car, it had so much downforce, you felt really comfortable being just driving it off in there and sticking it.
Look at Biffle down low.
Biffle down on the inside. But, you know, with these cars, they don't have as much downforce, so everybody tiptoes in. So maybe it allows you to get a little bit to hang out there because you're going so slow across the tunnel.
And see, now Biffle's down on the inside. The problem is, I mean, the draft plays here at Pocono. Trust me, when there's 40 cars lined up on the outside and you're the only guy on the inside, it just really poses you.
Looking at that FedEx Toyota, Denny Hamlin.
A little bit closer look than Biffle wanted to see.
Right on the rear bumper with Greg Biffle. Here's the pump draft.
7, the 11 pushing you.
Hamlin taking the spot.
Another thing we see you can do with these cars is the bump draft.
Yes, you can.
And it really helps. Just get up there and pop the guy in front of you and actually, like, all of a sudden getting another 50 horsepower for a second.
Denny Hamlin looking at Jeff Gordon while Biffle's going to try down low again to get the position back.
He gets up to the door, but he loses it because he's not in that draft.
He is now. Matt, how about the Biff?
The car's still tight, Bill. One issue that he has had, and it's similar to what he experienced last week at Dover. He has no cool box. For whatever reason, it quit working. Last week, he had to turn it off to save his battery. This week, it just quit working. So in these hot temperatures, he does not have that driver aid. He'd like another air pressure change, though, to try to free that car up even more.
And those boxes are, you know, they're pretty important because the way these cars are built, especially with the side window, it's not like the old days when you had windows open everywhere. Yeah. These cars, they roast you inside because there's no air moving inside the race car on a driver.
With this car, they've designed it to just be slick. And no air comes in. And here we see the 20 car passing the 66. But the other thing that the cool air box does is it gives the driver fresh air. It filters it through the box, and it gives the driver fresh air. So when you say, yeah, coolness is one thing, but having fresh air and being able to breathe fresh air, he's breathing a lot of fumes. I heard more people say after Darlington down there that they felt like they got gas for the first time in a number of years with this car compared to the old car.
It is overcast right now at Pocono. Temperature in the mid-80s. The forecast earlier in the week was for 92 to 95 here this afternoon, and that's when you bunch of cool bugs.
Yeah, you need it. You know, most of the time it's 20, 30, 40, sometimes as much as 40 degrees hotter inside a car than what the ambient temperature is outside. So if it's 80, you can go back and say, okay, it's 120 inside the car. And when you don't have any cool box, man, it's tough on you.
Ralph, how about Tony Stewart?
Well, this is a car that they've been chipping away at all weekend long. They really weren't that happy this morning, but Greg Zipadelli made a lot of little changes and added up to one big package, and they're starting to feel pretty good about it. And Tony says the car is very happy in clean air right now. He's got good spacing right now, so that 20 should be running pretty good.
Again, Tony Stewart comes in here after a tough couple of weeks at Charlotte and Dover. Lost a tire. Oh, multi-car crash. Carpentier again.
38 is in that as well.
I think the 77 was in it again.
Yeah, it was.
Yep.
I thought I saw him go around one time.
Brings out our 5th caution flag of the race.
Same corner too, I think.
Yeah, turn 1.
Pick it up a little bit underway.
It's the same two guys in the same corner, just a little bit later. So I'd like to have seen
a little bit later and a little bit higher up the racetrack, but the same kind of choreographed spin.
On board with Terry Labonte, driving the 45 car for Kyle.
You know, the Carpentier got loose, saved it, and hooked, and got into the 38.
Yeah, you saw it. You could see when the 10 car. Great job, Terry Labonte. Let me just go ahead and say that right now. You can see when the 10 car jumped over on the right rear, and when he went to correct, he just went up the racetrack and got into the 77. But that's so bizarre that the last 2 cautions have been caused by these 2 cars.
So Carpentier goes to pit road. The crew goes to work on that. Looks like Terry might have saved your splitter too.
Yeah, Terry saved the splitter. And obviously the 10 car is not watching our broadcaster. He would leave that fender torn in like that because of the way Denny Hamlin's running with a torn up fender.
Yeah, surprised there isn't guys with hammers banging the fenders on their
knocking them in.
Jimmy Johnson is the race leader. Brian Vickers is second. Matt Kenseth, Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt Jr. the top 5. Under caution here at Pocono. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. Some guys have taken a wild ride here at Pocono. Under caution, the top 11 cars stayed out when pit road was open. And then behind them, a variety of different pit strategies playing out. Let's take a look at our Haynes comfort zone for Kyle Busch and many other drivers. One of their comfort zones, well, the way they travel, the ability to get from track to track in a rather timely and comfortable fashion. Private jets give the drivers the freedom and flexibility to travel in comfort on a weekly basis. And if you get really comfortable while you're on that jet, get some Z's.
That's the way I like to sleep.
Hey, as busy as he's been this weekend, he's had to get it in when he could.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. He's had a busy little week.
Tough day for Kyle Busch today, though. Currently scored 43rd, came in as the championship leader. Let's go down to pit road and find out what's going on. Matt?
Well, Bill, the raindrops have subsided, so Carl Edwards called it that there were some possible storms in the area. No wintry mix, though. But your car is really starting to come to life, Greg Irwin.
He's pretty happy. We started off with not really good track position, obviously, and we're working hard. He's doing a good job picking them off when the opportunity's there. The guys are doing a good job on pit road. Everything's sort of coming together. I think the cloud cover probably helped us a little bit, and just like everyone on pit road here, track position is going to be key.
Your team has really come to life as the year has progressed, and you and Greg Biffle have talked about the 5% game plan of taking it to the next level.
Yeah, we just had some light conversation the other night, really, and he knows and I know, you know, unless you're winning races every week, we're running up front. You know, the idea is there that everything across the board just needs to get worked on just that little bit. There's no one big thing holding us down, and there's no one thing we can put our hands on that says this is what's got us to where we are. So we're working hard on all areas.
They have led over 260 laps over the last 3 races. Lindsay?
Thank you, Matt. I'm here with Matt Kenseth's crew chief, Chip Bolin. I know that Matt right now is running in 3rd place. Can you keep him up there as far as his car is concerned?
He's really happy with the way the car was driving, and it's really hard to pass out there today. So we figured we'd gamble on keeping old left side tires on there. The car had good speed, so yeah, I hope we can keep him in the front.
All right, Chip Bolin and Matt Kenseth working together for the first time.
Lindsey, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car's been pretty good today. Let's talk to Tony Eury Jr. What have you been battling on these last few runs, Tony?
You know, it is a little bit tight. You know, made several changes, has helped the car quite a bit. You know, we took 4 there at one time, lost a little bit of track position, but, you know, it was a good way to see what 4 versus 2 with a teammate up there. So put 2 on this last time, and, you know, the car's pretty good. It's just whoever gets out in clean air is going to have the best benefit.
Yeah, he had talked to us earlier in the day and said he was a little worried about long runs. So I thought you were pretty good yesterday. How's it been on the long run today?
A while ago, I mean, when we made that first long run, it was actually pretty good. You know, just a little snug throughout that whole run, so that was good. We were really worried about it getting too free the whole run. So, you know, right now we're real happy. We're just going to do some small changes and just keep freeing it up as the day goes and try to keep up with the track, and I think we'll be good.
Bill, I'm happy to report that according to Tony Eury Jr.'s radar, the rain should be out of the way. They have pulled the cars down pit road, though, and stopped them here on the front stretch.
Yeah, Marty, obviously it's a huge track, 2.5 miles here at Pocono, and there are some sections of the racing surface that have gotten rather wet, so NASCAR has brought the cars to pit road while they take a look at the racing surface. So the cars on pit road with 71 laps complete. Jimmie Johnson scored as the race leader. "71 laps complete here at Pocono Raceway for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series under the red flag for rain here at Pocono. As you can tell by those people out on pit road, it's not raining on this portion of the track, but there are some sections of the track where it is rather wet, and NASCAR has decided to pull the cars to pit road, and the red flag is out. Fans get even more TNT racing with TNT's Race Buddy on NASCAR.com. Go there right now, watch bonus coverage, interact with other fans, and even send a question to Wally or Kyle. Best of all, it's free, and it's only on NASCAR.com. Let's go down to Marty.
And Jimmie Johnson has taken full advantage of this little mid-race break here, Bill. He's gone to the restroom, and he's gotten a little snack and gotten a little refreshment as well. This was a well-timed caution for you, wasn't it?
Might as well take advantage of it. You know, there's big raindrops back there, so I was just trying to get out, and it's a long race here, as we all know, and I'll make sure I'm ready.
Yeah, you were talking to Chad. You said track position is going to be everything today, isn't it?
It really is. You know, it's so tough to pass, and it is single file. Thankfully, we have another option down in 3, but now everyone's up there instead of on the bottom, so it's still kind of single file. But our car's been good, and track position's made it really good.
Everybody's talked about the strip up in 3. Have you tried the bottom of 3 at all to go around, guys?
I've tried 1 lap on the bottom all weekend. The rest of the time I've been up on that strip, and the 1 lap told me enough that I needed to move back up.
So you've taken 2 tires here a couple of times, so what's the strategy now? You've got to kind of go with 4 the next time, right?
We hope. Hopefully we get a long run here where when everybody does pit, you have to go for 4, and that's what we're hoping for, and a lot of guys are kind of hoping the opposite from probably 15th on back. They're hoping we get a quick caution, and those guys can let their 4 tires shine.
Yeah, they've watched Casey Kane back there struggling to get back to the front when he had to go way into the back. But Jimmie Johnson right now has the coveted first spot in all that clean air. Lindsay?
Thanks, Marty. I think it's safe to say no one enjoys coming to Pocono more than Denny Hamlin, who's had so much success here. Denny, it seems even now anything you guys do to your car is just responding very, very strong. What are your thoughts right now on this car?
Our car is really, really good. Unfortunately, we got some damage right there on pit road. But, I mean, the car's still really fast, even with the damage. So that just tells us once we get that fixed, we should be pretty good. We just keep going back and forth with this pit strategy stuff. You know, guys taking 2 tires and whatnot, keep bouncing back between the top 5 and top 10. So we got a car that's fast enough to win this race, you know, we feel like. So it's just a matter of time before we're up front.
So what becomes your strategy now?
Well, we got to figure out what's the right time to fix this car. It's running so good, even with the damage, that, you know, we don't want to, you know, lose 6-7 spots on pit road trying to fix it. So, you know, we just got to find the right time where we're one of the few cars on pit road to maybe take the time and fix that right front.
All right, Denny Hamlin getting ready to fire him back up right now in the 10th spot, guys.
That's exactly right, Lindsay. They've asked everyone to step back from the cars, getting ready to refire here at Pocono under the red flag. 71 laps complete. Had a little bit of rain.
getting ready to go back to racing, hopefully pretty soon. Larry, what are you working on during this brief hiatus?
Well, I'm just trying to recap what has happened here in the first 71 laps. We ran the first 27 laps caution-free, but on the second caution at lap 40, Kurt Busch gets loose coming off turn 2, single car spin. The guys had to come to pit road and fix that splitter, but they kept him on the lead lap. He's still up there in the top 20. And in very crowded pit road, Denny Hamlin hits pit road, gets a lot of damage on the right front. We just heard him talk about that, the big decision, do we want to fix it? Then we had Kyle Busch on the third caution at lap 46, was not quite clear of Jamie McMurray. He's in the garage area. Remember, under this red flag, they had to cease work on that 18 car. But the man that took the point early, qualified on the outside of the front row, Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. He got back in the pack a little bit through some pit strategy of other cars, but he has worked his way back to the front. He has now led almost 40 laps of these 71 laps, and he'll take the green flag back at the front.
There you see Jimmy sitting in his car talking to a NASCAR official. Jimmy has led 39 laps. Casey Kane 19, Scott Riggs 6, Brian Vickers 5, and a couple by Martin Truex Jr. Getting ready to give them the command to refire the engines here at Pocono.
You know, we've only run 71 laps. We've been, with the cautions, where they've fallen, and from the recap Larry just showed us, there's been some good racing here. There's been guys coming from the back. There's been guys moving forward. There's been different pit strategies, just like they said. But there's been some good racing for the first 70-some laps here.
There have been some surprises, some pleasant surprises for many of these drivers today. Scott Riggs currently still in the top 10 in the 7th position. A.J. Allmendinger in the 8th position. Regan Smith has worked his way back up to 13th. David Reagan still in the top 20, and it's been a learning experience for today for David Reagan. There you see the yellow flag back in the air. The red has been withdrawn. That means they can go back to work in the garage area on that 18 car of Kyle Busch. Look at Jeff Gordon in his DuPont Chevrolet, putting up the window net.
A lot of stuff to hook up these days, Kyle.
A lot more stuff to hook up than there ever was.
So the cars pull back out onto the racetrack. Got to talk to a couple of drivers, and I think Wally's looking for the radio here to see if he can't get another one for us.
Well, let's try Carl again. Hey, Carl, this is Wally up in the booth. Do you hear me?
Gotcha, Wally.
Okay, man, looks like you guys are just missing it just a little bit. It's like you're right there. I think if you make the right adjustment, you're going to be good.
Yeah, it's simple. We just lost a ton of spots in the pits that time. But yeah, it's like if I get my laps just right, do everything just right, then it's great, man. It's I just need we need to get racing a little bit, maybe have a couple green flag stops and get going. But it's just like you said, we're right there.
Is your car pretty good on the longer runs?
I think so. I think I mean, you know how this place is. You gotta really time everything just right to get all the track position. That last run we passed a few cars on the short run, though. That's the best we've been. So. You know, having fun, buddy. Just have myself a nice little sandwich and a drink, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, we just did the same thing up here in the booth. So good luck. Have fun.
All right, cool, man. Have a good broadcast.
Now he gets to put on his gloves.
Yeah, you see him just now putting on his gloves. He's driving around the racetrack putting them on. That's a cool shot.
Okay, we're going to go back to green flag racing. Jimmy Johnson up front under caution at Pocono. The Pocono 500, presented by EA Sports NASCAR 09, is brought to you by DirecTV. Get over 90 of the best channels in HD now. By Valvoline, 100 years under the hood. By Allstate, are you in good hands? And by McDonald's. Come taste the new Southern-style chicken sandwich. Our TNT race family here at Pocono getting ready to go back to green. The pace car pulls to pit road. Jimmy Johnson is the race leader.
before the tunnel turn, we can tell you that Denny Hamlin did come to pit road and has fallen out of the top 40 now. Again, 42 cars on the lead lap here. The only car not on the lead lap, Kyle Busch, back in the garage after hitting the wall earlier in the race.
You know, we talked about the 83 car earlier, staying out on those older tires, and he's been able to hang right there. Now, when you have a red flag like that and everybody sets, everybody's tires cool off. So, well, you know how it is. You go in and out of practice. As long as the tires are consistent, this is going to be, his tires still aren't as good as the guy in front of him and the guy behind him, but it's a little bit more of an equalizer coming back from a rain delay.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you talking about, bump drafting?
Yeah, they're Mark Martin bump drafting Tony Stewart a little bit down the straightaway.
I think that's the first time I've seen a Chevy bump draft and push a Toyota. Most of the time it's the other way around so far this season.
Stewart in the 20, the Home Depot Toyota. Mark Martin in that 8 Chevrolet. The one that made Carl Edwards so hungry earlier in the race. Steakham sponsorship for Mark this weekend. Earnhardt Jr. in front of them. Working lap 75. 25 from halfway here at Pocono. Ryan Newman in the 12.
Ryan has been one of those guys who's kind of gone to the bottom. He did early, but you can see coming up off the corner here, coming up off turn 3. The guy on the outside being on that patch just gets that run, and Ryan's right up next to him, and then he puts 4 car lengths on him down the straightaway.
There's Biffle with Allmendinger in the 84.
For 7th spot.
On board with Greg. And you continue to wait for Biffle and Roush Fenway to finalize either a deal or the fact they're not going to have one. Talking to Greg in the garage this week, and I get the feeling he's pretty sure. I get the feeling he knows exactly what he wants to do. He's just trying to figure out if they can get some details worked out.
Yeah, and you know, I think they didn't run that good last year as a group. The Roush organization didn't. They struggled, and he was very vocal about it in a lot of incidents. And you know, and he was just looking for something. This year they've come out, and as an organization, I think we've talked about it earlier, they've kind of stepped up their level of play. You see what Carl's done. You see, we talked about what Matt Kenseth's done, dragging himself really back into an opportunity to be in the chase. And Biffle, but like we said before, there
whisker tight.
He's talking about still a little whisker tight, but he's drugging there, but for a little bit of luck, he would have won a couple of races.
How about it, Matt?
Well, Bill, you just have to look at the changes that have taken place on the entire 16 organization. If you look at the guys that go over the wall, 6 of the 7 are new to this team this year. 5 of their 8 road guys are new to the 16 organization this year. A lot of changes, and Greg Irwin told me at Bristol back in the spring, we see things are starting to come together. It's going to take till June till we know for sure. And June is here, and they feel like this team is really going to make a push toward the chase.
You know, and I think that's the theme, and you talked about it, and Larry talked about it earlier in the day. So we'll watch Allmendinger and Carl Edwards.
Yeah, Carl Edwards just took that spot from Allmendinger. That's the 8th position.
But these next 6 races are going to have a huge role in figuring out who's really going to be in position to make a charge to make the 12-man chase. Because right now you've got a lot of guys that are further back in the standings that are hot moving forward, and you got to wonder who, if they're going to make it, who's going to get bumped out.
Yeah, you talk about, you talk about Matt Kenseth and the turnaround that team has shown over the last 4 or 5 weeks, and to pull himself back up to be 80 or 90 points out of the chase. At the same time, you got to be talking about people inside that top chase who are having trouble and dropping the other direction, because there's got to be an opening for you to be able to jump in, and sometimes it takes somebody having a little bit of bad luck for you to be able to capitalize on it.
Let's check with Larry downstairs.
Well, guys, Mark Fine, Marty Snyder, and myself had an opportunity to sit down with Greg Biffle earlier in the week. And like Greg said, unless maybe something would open up at Joe Gibbs Racing, where am I going to go that would be better than where I'm at right now? I've already had as many top 5 finishes this year than I had the entire season last year. So I think that's the thing he's looking at. Would the grass really be greener if I went somewhere else? I know what I've got. I've been with this organization for 11 years, which I totally forgot about because he's been there for the Truck Series, the Nationwide Series, and his Sprint Cup career.
You really look at him, Larry, as a true Roush driver.
Well, and we looked at Mark Martin as a true Roush driver and felt like Mark would be there until the very last time he put a helmet on his head, but that obviously changed. But so, you know, nothing is forever, but I just don't think Greg sees that there's a better opportunity out there than what he has right now.
Especially now, because, I mean, they should have won some races this year. So they've been in a position to win races. They've had some, you know, bad luck in that situation. But yeah, at the end of the day, that's what you look at. At least if you've got a shot at winning races, you know, there's some hope.
Yeah, all you can ask for is an opportunity. And I think last year, Greg, just like we were talking, Greg didn't feel like he had an opportunity to win races. This year, he feels like the opportunity's there. They've just got to capitalize on it.
Greg Biffle, 3rd at Dover, 2nd at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Take a look at Tony Stewart. And let's look at some of these other guys that are having a good day here, that, you know, have really worked hard not only to get up front, but so far through the first 80 laps to stay there. A.J. Allmendinger, strong qualifying run. Started 8th. Currently hanging out about the 9th position.
We're going to have a yellow flag. It's on the front stretch behind you.
Crash on the front stretch. Clint Boyer. Robbie Gordon made the move to pit road.
Wow, we got somebody on fire up here. Montoya.
Wow. This is on the front stretch. Juan trying to get to the fire truck.
Stop.
Oh, he got out of there in a hurry. Good for him.
Yeah. Rescue guys are hurrying over.
You guys could go ahead and put that fire out at any time.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah. Excuse me, Mr. Montoya, can I have your autograph? I mean, get over here and put the thing out,
it's
people.
just unbelievable.
Come on, this is incredible.
They got them in their hands, and they're standing there.
That's incredible.
We got it now.
That's sad.
That is very sad. That's incredible right there. You can tell Juan's a little disgusted, so obviously he doesn't feel like it's his
still
fault.
burning.
Yeah, there's still fire underneath there. You can see that. Let's see what we can see on this replay.
It looks like the 07 got up under the 15, and it got away from him. He corrects.
And looks like probably got collected.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Big hit.
Yeah, Montoya had nowhere to go on that one.
It picked the 07 up in the air. You could almost see from that angle. In motorcycle terminology, he's tank slapping right here. And then bang. That's a big hit right there.
And then Juan ignited.
Yeah, but he comes in catching on fire. Looking for some help. The guys that have fire extinguishers.
Somebody with a fire extinguisher and a helmet on and a red suit. And he does what he should do. I mean, he's trying to get this thing off the racetrack. He's staying down out of the way, and he pulls to the fire. He pulls to the emergency crew.
And you talked about it earlier. You have a lot of stuff on.
Yeah, no, he got one 1,000.
But he's out. Look out.
Well, he was probably unbuckled when
he
was going down. I think he was looking for a place to stop so he could get out. But yeah, these cars have a lot more room in them, and they are safer when it comes to that. So that was great to see.
Under caution for the 7th time at Pocono, Jimmy Johnson is your leader. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. TNT Sports at the Pocono Raceway, Long Pond, Pennsylvania. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing presented by EA Sports NASCAR 09. Under caution. Let's take a look at the AT&T Race Talk poll question. How many races will Kyle Busch win this season?
Wow.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
That's 64% saying 6 or more.
Where's he at right now? How many's he won? 4. So 4 is 16%. Those people were pretty safe right there that he would win at least 4, right?
No,
they're saying he's not going to win again.
Absolutely.
They're saying he's not going to win again. Hey, Larry McReynolds, are you down there?
I am here.
What do you think if you're crew chiefing on that 83 car? What are you thinking about right now?
As much as I do not want to come to pit road, I'm loving this track position. What we have to remember, even though we've had a lot of cautions, remember at a track like Pocono, 2 cautions for fuel equal 1 green flag lap. But remember, he has not been to pit road since lap 48, which was, by my calculations, what is that, about 35 laps ago. So I think they're going to have to come to pit road because they're getting close on fuel.
I think everybody's going to come to pit road.
And I think you're right, but I think we're going to continue to see, with all these cautions, some fuel only, some 2 right side tires. I think we're going to continue to see that. Like Jimmy Johnson said, as long as we don't have that long green flag run.
Well, I think something else you're going to see here, very similar to a year ago, you're going to see some guys put themselves in position to make sure they're at the front of the field as we race past halfway. Because we've already had 1 red flag for rain. There is a chance of more rain this afternoon here in Pocono. So we'll see how it unfolds. Pit road is still closed.
Yeah, they still have a bunch of safety vehicles down there at the end of pit lane that they're working on, so that's why pit road is closed.
Fans want more TNT coverage. The Coke Zero in-car camera on Race Buddy lets you vote for and ride shotgun with the Coca-Cola Racing family of drivers. Check out the Coke Zero in-car camera on NASCAR.com's Race Buddy and cast your vote now. There's Denny Hamlin back in the 38th spot. Clint Boyer has visited the care center and has been released. We saw Juan Montoya get out of his car and walk away very disappointed. I want to update you, this is the 6th caution of the race. 84 laps are complete. There you see the front runners: Johnson, Vickers, Kenseth, Stewart, Earnhardt Jr.
And this works out good for Vickers if everybody does come in, because then it puts him on the same deal.
Yeah.
Track position he's already got.
So in that case, when a guy does like Vickers has done, stayed out, got track position, and then is able to capitalize on it because they run far enough that everybody wants to change tires, that's when it works for you. It doesn't work for you when everybody comes in and they snooker you again and you've got to change for and they change too, or just gas and go. So this could play right into their hands.
Field working through turn 2. There's Jeff Burton. We want to update you on Juan Montoya's situation, and we'll do that as we move along here. But pit road is open now, and here comes everybody. Matt?
Greg Biffle still searching for his first Pocono victory. Hits pit road in the 7th position. Says the car was getting freer and freer on that run, but it was still a whisker tight. So they want to try to free it up a little more. It was really stout through the tunnel turn. Ralph.
Well, Matt, they've been working on that 48, trying to get it good in the corner. They feel like they're finally getting the balance right on this car. He's starting to say the corners are good, Marty.
Ralph Dale Earnhardt Jr. is in the middle of your screen. He said he wants his car to be a little bit looser when these clouds come out. It makes it a little bit tighter, but not quite as much as he wants. So they're going to adjust with air pressure and 4 tires, but we will see plenty of cars with 2 tires on the stop. Lindsay?
Marty, for Matt Kenseth, we also saw air pressure and 4 tires added. They had taken 2 the last 2 stops, so they didn't have a choice there. Matt had said his car was tight, so they're hoping to give him a little bit more adjustability.
So I would say some guys use different strategy there, judging by the race off of pit road. And of course, a handful of guys, like Elliott Sadler, didn't stop at all. So we'll sort out the running order and explain Montoya's situation when we come back here to Pocono. Fields in turn 1 just got the green. Top 6 cars did not stop. There you see Jimmy Johnson in the low Chevy.
Well, Vickers stopped, didn't he?
The top 6 cars here did not stop.
Oh, okay.
And, and the one car interesting in this whole pack is Denny Hamlin. He was back there. Remember, he came in the previous time at the end of that caution and worked on his bumper. Made no progress. He was as fast as the leaders were. Now he's up in 5th position.
Yeah. Elliott Sadler, Bobby Labonte, Dave Blaney, Martin Truex, Hamlin, and Terry Labonte did not stop. They were at the back of the field. Everybody else came onto pit road. We watch the race and check with Ralph.
We're down here with Clint Boyer, who's watching his crew work hard on his car. Clint, can you tell us what happened in that incident?
It's just trying to, I followed the 15 for about 4 laps, and, they were getting away from us. I was just trying to force the issue there, and got loose underneath of him and, lost it. But it's just unfortunate. That stripe down there, patch, whatever they did down there, it's really created one line down there, and it's hard to pass and get yourself in those situations. But it was just a stupid part on my part.
Another driver that came in here in the top 12 in points.
And it's pretty cool, though. He took the blame. He said, I got in under him trying to be a little bit aggressive, and it just got away from me, and, one of those deals. Denny has gone from 5th to 2nd here in just these couple of laps.
Well, of those cars back there, you would think he would be the class of that bunch.
He is definitely the class of those 6 cars that stayed out. There's no question about it. He, under the rain delay, you heard him say, we just got to figure out when to come in and work on our car. They came in, they worked on the front fender, and he couldn't make any progress. But the way things have shuffled out, now he needs this thing to go for 20 or 25 laps so that he can cycle back and be up in the front.
Mark Martin on the move. Truex Jr., his teammate behind him. On board with Tony Stewart. Now we'll watch the...
That just looks tight. See there.
There's Casey Caton on the move inside of Tony Stewart.
And Casey Caton has been on the move, making up a lot of ground since he started way back in 33rd or 34th earlier.
Moves for 3rd place. Now, mark it in your book, because we heard Jimmy Johnson say, I hadn't been down there since 1 lap in the race. He just made a pass on the bottom of the racetrack. But you saw him as he come up off the corner. That thing got really, really loose. He began to lose some grip and slid up in front of Bobby there in the 43 car. Carl's following him by here.
And we'll continue to watch the race here as Hamlin looks to make a move on Elliott Sadler. This would be for the lead. 2 of the drivers that did not stop under the last caution. But we have been told by NASCAR that the 2 safety workers we saw standing by Juan Montoya's car as Hamlin moves inside of Sadler. Looking for the lead here. And Denny Hamlin to the point. But the 2 safety workers there were for driver safety and not responsible for the car. So you see Montoya get out, and then you see the safety vehicle pulling up. And you see those 2 gentlemen over there in the red suits. They're responsible for the driver. This is what we were told by NASCAR. And these are the gentlemen responsible for the vehicle. You'd like to see a little quicker
I'd like
reaction.
to see a little bit more hustle. But it is what it is, and they did get it out before it burnt to the ground.
No harm,
and
no foul.
And the main thing is Montoya, got out.
Montoya got out, and I think from a driver's perspective, and sometimes I'll say this, I overreact because I think that they should be there as soon as you stop, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know what happens to the driver. When it doesn't look like it's bad, sometimes it's really bad. We've been very blessed in this sport. These cars are so safe. And that's one reason that we run this car that we see today. The COT, the whole design of the car was to be a safer vehicle for the drivers. And we saw it in Texas with Michael and the 00 car. We've seen it at other places with Jeff Gordon at Las Vegas. So it is a safer car.
There you go, man.
Sometimes you just begin to take that for granted that it is a safe car.
Jimmy Johnson working inside of Elliott Sadler.
Just to follow up what Kyle said, and getting out of these things was really hard in the older cars. I mean, it took a lot to get out. And Montoya got out of that thing fast.
It's amazing, just giving a couple of inches to the driver, moving him to the center a couple inches away from the door, making the roof of the car and the windows a little bit larger. It's amazing. We have so many things we have to disconnect as a driver. It made it a lot simpler and a lot safer for these guys jumping in and out.
And we get word that Juan Pablo Montoya has been released from the infield care center here at Pocono. So Elliott Sadler with the wave 5 for the 48 and the 99. So he's back to the 4th position. And Mark Martin and Bobby Labonte.
And Elliott's having a good run. You know, here's a guy that's qualified really good over the last 3 or 4 weeks in this 19 car. Has nothing to show for it. But at the same time, I think he's just trying to stop the bleeding at this point. Just give me a good finish and let me move to the next race.
You see another driver that has made a move forward after an off-track excursion, Kurt Busch. Driving that 2 car, here comes Kenseth inside of Truex.
Another thing I noticed on that 83 car back there in that pack right there.
Wow.
Great job, Kurt.
The 20 and the 22, something, they must have all but got together and had to check up for Kurt to blast around them that fast.
I was saying the 83 car looked like somebody got into the 83 car pretty hard.
There's Vickers in the middle of that picture in the 83 Red Bull ride. On board with Tony Stewart. Here's Kenseth. And here comes Vickers.
Wow, Tony hung tight on the outside.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
what I'm saying. The guys
pretty
do that
stout
a
right
lot.
there.
I think they have to now.
Yeah.
Because you're aiming for that patch.
You saw Vickers go in. I thought Vickers was going to dive under him, but it's almost like he used enough brake to slow the car down, but just couldn't do it.
Car, Travis Kvapil right there on the bottom gets a little bit loose. He's running the 16th position.
Paul Menard there in the 15. It's on board with Jeff Burton. That's Ryan Newman. Newman falls in behind Burton. Now he's going to try and make the move down low.
And that is the preferred line. Used to be. Let me say that. That used to be the preferred line. But that's just that crossover move. And how many times have we seen it through the years here? You let the guy go in. As he washes out over the tunnel, you turn left and take the preferred line away. But right now, the outside line is the preferred line.
Burton hangs on to that position.
Casey Kane's another guy right there. He has worked his way back to 7th spot the hard way.
He's got something on the front of that car, too.
I don't think that's really covering any openings right there.
No, it isn't. Larry?
I'm glad you guys picked up on this 9 car, because remember, it was just 2 cautions ago back on lap 58 where they were going to go with 4 tires, decided to go with 2, but they had to come back to pit road because of the left side lugs being loose, and he has worked his way from back in the 30th, somewhere in the 30th position, all the way back to the top 10. It won't be long, Marty. They're going to have to contend with this 9 car.
Yeah, Larry Mack, all I can say is wow for Casey Kane. I'll give you those numbers real quick if you want them. 38th to 27th on a 6-lap run. And then that run we just had a moment ago under green flag from 33rd now to 7th for Casey Kane. Now they pitted back on lap 69, took on 4 tires. That was very smart on Kenny Francis's part, because when they came down on 82, they just took 2 tires on Casey Kane's car. He said, this car makes me feel like I know what I'm doing. This car is unbelievable today.
Marty, the tire strategy in the map down there must be driving some people crazy.
It's incredible, Bill, and Kenny Francis made that call when nobody else pitted. He came down, took 4. He said, now if we get a caution sometime soon, that will allow us to take 2. That's gotten some of their track position back, but they've got the majority of it back by just passing cars on the track.
He has been one of those guys today that's been able to make time
Right.
And pass people. Not at will. I'm not going to say that. But he has been able to catch people, pass people, and once he got around them, put some distance between himself and the guy behind him.
We watch the race and check with Matt.
Bill Juan Pablo's watching his team repair his 42 machine. First off, are you okay? That was scary.
No, it wasn't so bad. You know, technical Hovland Dodge car, it was pretty strong. We had a pretty good car. It's one of those deals that, you know, somebody spins in front of you, you can't do anything. Catches fire. I'm surprised they're trying to fix it, though, the truth. And especially in a place like this that, you know, nobody goes a lap down. And so we'll see. You know, if we can make some places, we will. If not, we'll probably park it. All right, thank you, Juan. Okay.
Thanks, Matt. Watching Casey Kane behind Greg Biffle and in front of Mark Martin. Approaching the halfway mark here at Pocono. Denny Hamlin is the race leader. Our TNT Sports coverage of the Pocono 500 presented by EA Sports NASCAR 09 continues. The sun is trying to break through. The cards from all the fans that have come out today. Denny Hamlin has led the most laps in 3 of the last 4 races here. Did not lead a lap last August, but he has been very successful here at Pocono. Make him our Ultraman Ultra Power Performer of the race. A couple years ago, swept both Pocono wins here. Decided not to pit under the most recent caution and worked his way to the front. And the front has been a good place to be. That clean air. Cars loving it.
And right now, pit strategy is working for Denny and for Mike Ford in that group. And remember up here, the race we did last year, this very first Pocono race on TNT, Denny and those guys got caught out on pit strategy and ended up, and he was very upset about that when that race was over.
How about it, Lindsay?
Yeah, well, you guys are talking all that pit strategy. Do you remember one of those wins that you were speaking of? He came back from being in the 40th spot to get that win because of strategy they used then. So these guys absolutely excited about what he's able to do so far. They did just get on the radio and say they're going to bring him in again around lap 106. They're going to, of course, look to give him 4 tires and fuel, and we'll see if they make any other adjustments. But Denny Hamlin right now loving that clean air in front of him.
Has battled back from some contact on pit road. Had to restart outside the top 40, has passed a number of cars on the track, but also got a lot of help with the decision not to pit. He's on board with Denny. So he's approaching a situation where he might have to stop under the green.
But he's far enough out in front, it's not going to kill us. It's not going to kill him. You know, we talk about how big this place is. It's not going to really take him out of the race.
You see some of the numbers.
Keep an eye on the RPMs. Let's see what we talked about. You know, they're really twisting these things, and see what they're getting up here to turn 1. They're twisting them.
They are.
It's 90, 95, 9600, and this is not on brand new tires. So we'll see a couple more 100 RPMs when they're on fresh tires.
That's at like a 47 flat, so that's 2 or 3 seconds slower than what they ran when they went to qualify here.
The guys that did not stop under the last caution now coming in. Elliott Sadler on pit road.
You know, these guys are basically pitting from top 10 positions. He and Bobby Labonte had maintained and been able to stay. You see the 19 car and the 43 car of Bobby Labonte right there behind him. They've been able to basically stay in the top 10. So, you know, this is not going to, once again, this is not going to be that detrimental to them as far as racing against the leader.
We'll see how it plays out.
They're going to have to pit unless there's a caution.
Larry?
The other good thing about Bobby Labonte and Elliott Sadler waiting to lap 104 to come to pit road is for these guys, or even the guys that can run a little further than this, it's now a 2-stop race. I had written in my numbers with running 32 laps, as long as you were on pit road by lap 104, regardless, you could make it on 2 more stops. So really everybody now can make it on 2 more stops once they make their green flag stop.
Here's Tony Stewart.
Straight, but on the
Ralph.
Tony Stewart's been working on this car, trying to dial this thing in, and he's been getting a little bit tight in the center. and they're probably going to make a little bit of a wedge adjustment. Matt.
2 free on this last run for Martin Truex Jr. The stop already completed, air pressure change, and the 55's in the wall.
Michael Waltrip, and the caution is out.
Come on down.
Gets it off the wall.
Hey, guys, that's exactly what Elliott Sadler, Bobby Labonte, Martin Truex Jr., and Tony Stewart needed as a caution right after their pit stop. It'll work out for them just like it did for Scott Riggs earlier. Everyone else will have to come to pit road now.
Timing is everything.
And that's about the third time that it's worked out in the race like this.
Right.
Somebody on pit road when the caution comes out. Man, he just entered high. He's way up high, still running in a straight line.
The lucky dog is Terry Labonte.
That could be a costly accident for the 55 car.
He was 35th in owner points. Top 35 are locked into the race. Top 35 in owner points. Michael came in 35th. We expect pit road to be open this time by.
Hey, guys, when I look at Greg Zipadelli in the 20 car, they were not one of the cars that stayed out. I think Greg Zipadelli, he was on a road course schedule here. He wanted to get to that window, get that 20 car to pit road, and it has worked out absolutely perfect with that caution coming out.
Sometimes you got to run these things backwards, huh, Larry?
Well, I think once you clear the halfway point here, Bill, exactly, because we know we take a chance of all those long green runs once these cars get scattered out a little bit. So it worked out just perfect for those guys. I didn't say great, Bill.
But it could turn out pretty good for him. You're right.
Matt, here they come.
Carl Edwards, and a lot of discussion back and forth with crew chief Bob Osborne. Carl says the car's a little free down in 1. Okay in the tunnel turn, but a little tight on exit. Going to make an air pressure change for the 99 of Edwards. Let's go further up pit road to Ralph Shaheen.
Matt just picking away at it. And the one thing about Pocono is you never know where things are going to come. They've been working on turn number 1 all day for the 48. Now all of a sudden it's turn number 3. That's become their challenge. He's been a little tight over there, Lindsay.
Thanks, Ralph. Denny Hamlin got what he wanted with this caution. He said he's a little bit free in the corner. They're going to give him 4 tires and fuel, make a chassis adjustment, and give him a tear off a windshield. To Marty.
Lindsey Casey Kane has roared his way back to 4th on the racetrack. Very good. He wants to undo the last adjustment they did, which was putting wedge in the right rear. They took that back out. Half around on the right rear. The car was a little too tight for Casey Kane, and 4 tires.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. scored the leader off of pit road. But we'll sort out the running order when we come back, and it looks like some guys that pitted early may benefit from this caution. See how it all plays out when we come back to Pocono on TNT. The Pocono 500 presented by EA Sports NASCAR 09 live on TNT, and boy has this really worked itself into an interesting situation. Elliott Sadler pitted under the green. Tony Stewart pitted under the green. Bobby Labonte pitted under the green. Martin Truex Jr. pitted under the green. Then the caution came out. But because they were so far ahead of the leader, as Kyle predicted, they did not lose any ground, and they are the top 4 cars.
How'd you predict that? Lucky guess. Lucky guess, man.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. runs in the 5th position after a 2-tire stop. So the pace car heads to pit road. We're past halfway. Get ready to go back to green. Sadler, Stewart, Bobby Labonte, Truex Jr., then Earnhardt Jr. Terry Labonte was the lucky dog. He restarts back around the 39th spot.
I know it seems like we've had a lot of cautions, but every time we have a caution, the race changes. You know, you were talking to Larry about counting the race from backwards to forward. You were counting 2 tires, 4 tires. What are we doing? We've seen so many different strategies today. This has probably been one of the most strategic races and people trying things than anything we've seen all year.
And Earnhardt Jr. right now trying the 2 tires. Picked up 13 positions with that strategy. See how it works out on the track. Lindsay.
I wanted to update you guys on Elliott Sadler, and you know how lucky he must feel to be able to getting a break like this, talking about the luck he's had recently. But he just said that he's great in the tunnel turn. He should be good to go in this clean air, so obviously they're happy they're leading. But do you realize this is just the third race where Elliott has led a lap this season? Snyder?
Lindsey Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to make his way to the front with those 2 tires, as Bill mentioned. They made no adjustments on that stop, guys. They've been very happy with this 88 car as he tries to find his way to the front and back to where those guys were a little bit earlier in the race.
Now you talk about a guy, boy, look at this. Talk about a strong car in clean air. That 20 might be one of them.
Yeah, and we get a chance to see it right now. That was a slide move right there. You saw him go in under, when they got to turn 3, he went under Elliott and slid up, and Elliott moved up to the right of the patch just a little bit, thought better of it, and let Tony go on. So this is the first time we've seen the 20 really in clean air.
We watch the race and check with Ralph. He's with Kyle Busch.
Well, Kyle, you've had some time to look at the tape and think about it a little bit. Have you figured out what happened to knock you out?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the 26 get high, get loose, and thought he faded back further than what he did when the 84 passed him, and didn't know he was out there still. We broke the mirror trying to adjust it there before the race, and couldn't see anything out my right rear quarter panel, so I couldn't clear myself. Spotter didn't say anything, so apologize to McMurray for wrecking their day, but sucks.
Now it's time for him to get in the car and try to get some laps in, gentlemen.
Oh, and that's fun.
Yeah.
It's always good to get in a race car after you're about 60 laps down and just run around.
60 laps down in a place that takes a minute to get around. You know what I mean? It is. It's just a boring day. It's a tough day. Here we see the 9 and the 11. Now, these are 2 guys that have led the race and drove off from everybody. And here they are back in the pack a little bit. I guess they're 5th and 6th, racing for positions.
Casey's car, though, I mean, we'll see if Denny is going to take a look on the bottom, but so far we've seen unless he's going to pull a slide job like Stewart. Ooh, there's not much room there, guys. That thing's only 1 car wide.
Hamlin's the first guy that has not give up the patch going into turn 3. I mean, in all honesty, he didn't give it up. We've seen it all day long. We talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
The outside guy or the inside guy gives up the patch. Hamlin did not give it up, man.
Casey Kane holds on to that spot.
That was great driving by both of those guys. That really was, because they were sharing it. One had their left side, one had their right side, and they still didn't lose a lot of ground. When you look at it, they didn't lose a lot of ground time-wise.
So we've passed the point in the race where it used to be more give and less take. Now it's more take and less give.
Mark it down at lap 112. 112. It's all take and no give.
Carl Edwards in that 99. Jimmy Johnson in the 48. Here comes Matt Kenseth and Kurt Busch. Continues to recover from his excursion through the grass. Right now, if Kyle Busch runs 34 laps, he'll pick up 6 points.
Oh, hey, you have to. I'm not saying that. I mean, when you're running for a championship, every one of those points is really, really fun. I'm just saying, from a driver's perspective, it stinks. It's no fun at all.
That's exactly it. It's no fun. But let's go back here. Those are 6 important points.
Right, because unofficially right now he's only 55 points ahead of Jeff Burton.
Yeah, but those are 6 important points. We were just talking about Michael Waltrip and how this could be a costly race. He would take those 6 points in a heartbeat. I mean, he needs those 6 points. We heard last week a couple of drivers complaining about lap cars being in their way. The lap cars need those points just as much as the guys sitting in the garage area need those points.
And here's another unofficial stat as the race goes on. But right now, Michael Waltrip would be 17 points out of the top 35 in owner points.
And 17 points might as well be 100 when you're outside.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
Because it can turn into 100 real quick.
That's exactly right. And they're shooting, when you're outside that top 35, you're shooting to get inside that top 35 by the end of the year. So 3 points here, 3 points there. You know, it's the same thing. We talk about it. If you can stay out and lead 1 lap under caution and get those bonus points, that's almost like winning a race. It's 180 some points or whatever at the end of the year. It's a huge, it adds a bonus race to a team, and a team in 30th to 35th, that's critical.
That's for 6th. Hamlin taking it from Earnhardt Jr. Carl Edwards watching.
Good job, dude.
You say dude?
Good job, dude. He said, good job, dude, and then he said, where did that 9 car go after he passed the 11th, because he drove off from it.
And it has. It's going. Casey Kane now in 5th. Hamlin up to the 6th, and there's Carl.
Picking up the spot from Earnhardt. And Earnhardt Jr. with just the 2 tires on the last stop.
And I think he's struggling a little bit there in 3 because I thought Denny Hamlin was really good in 3 that last lap, but I think Junior just doesn't have the grip right now with those the 2 tires that they did on that last pit stop. Guess he's going to lose another spot here.
There's Jimmy right down on the white line, the way he used to run the place. But
Falls
Junior
into
gets that
line.
run.
Sorry
Junior
about
gets
that.
no, I'm sorry. Junior gets that run up off the corner and it goes away.
Johnson, then Matt Kenseth. 75 races since Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been to victory lane.
But there you see the tires coming. There and turn 3 is when you can't get away with what you can get away with in turn 1.
Okay, and if you listened right there, you heard Junior check up getting into turn 3 to let Jimmy have it because he knows Jimmy's faster and he's holding him up. And whether they're teammates or not, you get that a lot of times. You'll get that from a guy that's not your teammate. He knows you're holding him up or that he's holding you up. And if you continue to run 2 by 2, everybody's going to catch you too, so you lose too much.
And sometimes you want the payback later.
You want the payback later, and you'll remember that. You know, you talk about, do you remember things? Yeah, you catalog it. It's in your brain. You know when a guy does you right and when a guy does you wrong, and you remember it later in the day or later in another race when he may need a little bit of a help. You don't give it to him if he didn't give it to you.
Casey Kane in that 9 car in the 4th position after having to make an additional stop when they thought they were going to just make a 2-tire change. But some of the guys went ahead and started making a 4-tire change before they were called off. He had to come back for the missing lug nuts. They changed the left side tire, sent him back out at the back of the field. Kane has worked his way to 4th. On board with Greg Biffle.
That was a pass. Biffle gets around Elliott Sadler going into the corner. It almost looked like Elliott pulled over and let him go by, and then moved back up in line because Biffle went around him on the outside.
Whoa!
Was
that as loose as it looked?
It had to be. Look at him. He's working it up off the corner.
Wait, that's almost 200 miles an hour going into that turn. Any kind of loose is pretty loose, isn't it?
A little bit loose.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, simple. Whatever you need to try.
That sounds like the Greg Biffle of old. A happy Greg Biffle running in 2nd, looking for the win at Pocono, chasing Tony Stewart. Denny Hamlin, 4th right now. Swept the races here in 2006. 120 laps are complete. The 20 car is the race leader. Time to take you through the field. Let's start with Ralph.
Well, for Tony Stewart, he's been battling loose in, tight center off all day today. They've gotten pretty good on the loose in part. Still working on center off. Worked on the wedge. They didn't like that, so on this last stop, they took it out, Matt.
Impressive run for Greg Biffle. Started the day all the way back in 33rd. Now runs in 2nd. He has something that he really hasn't experienced most of today. That's a car that's extremely loose. He's keeping an eye on that and what changes they want to make in that final stop, Marty.
Well, Matt, believe it or not, in Casey Kane's 6 Pocono starts, he has just 1 top 10 finish, trying to do a little bit better than that today and put this thing in victory lane. Pretty healthy lead with everybody else in terms of lap times. He is faster than everyone. He has said not a word on this run, just knocking down race cars about every 4 or 5 laps, Lindsay.
Marty, Denny Hamlin has also been radio silent. Oh, we have caution on the track.
Dario Franchitti has been in the wall. And that brings out the caution. Let's go back and take a look. Shedding some parts along the front stretch.
There's 2 drivers trying to share the patch, and neither one of them got it right. But that's exactly what we saw earlier with the 9 and the 11. Now, the difference being the 9 and 11 were on fresher tires, too.
It looks to me like Franchitti may have pushed up into that because it looked like he was sliding there. He got into David.
Yeah, he got into
one.
David, for sure. Here's a 70.
Yep. Leffler.
Quarter pan like that bad.
He picked up some damage as well. 8th caution of the day. One car we've been watching is Dale Earnhardt Jr. Marty, he's been going the wrong way.
Yeah, he's been going backwards, Bill, and if you'll remember on the last stop, they took 2 tires, and here's the conversation between Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Tony Eury Jr. after that stop.
Why won't this car turn anymore? No, dude. I have no clue. I just put some air in the right rear tire, done like a half a round of bite out. That worked in the 90s. All right. I need to listen to what I'm saying. The left front's getting carried, so work that direction. Try to put that back down. Make that left front work for me. All right, I'm at the minimum on NASCAR, and I'm putting air in the right rear. That's the way I know to make the left front. The only other thing to do is take air out of the right front.
That's how cousins always get along, isn't it? And Junior, of course, chiding his cousin a little bit there. That worked in the 90s. They'll take 4 tires this time, trying to make some changes. Junior just wants that left front to work a little bit more. I'm sure Kyle and Wiley, you know what that means. Trying to get that car a little more evenly balanced on the front end, especially from the middle of the corner off. That's where he feels like he's losing his time.
Yeah, that's a typical thing here at Pocono, is feeling like that left front's not in the racetrack, especially down on turn 3. And what a driver's wanting to do, because he feels like he's on 3 tires, you want that left front in the track. That gives you that dig. That gives you that traction going through that corner, and you feel like you're faster through there when you got 4 tires on the ground.
And the one thing that these cars are doing different, and I got the 90s comment there. I got him good on the 90s comment. I was there in the 90s. I understood that. But what he's saying is, when you heard Tony Eury say, I changed the air pressure and I changed the wedge. The wedge changes the way the bar is loaded. And sometimes when it changes the way the bar is loaded, when you're running on a bump stop and you're running on these things like they are, that changes the car drastically.
Here they come, jam up, coming toward you, Matt.
The key for Greg Biffle not to slide his tires into his pit box. Almost overshoots his box. Greg Irwin is going for 2 tires on this stop, which should help tighten up the 16. Now he's got a really crank. He hits his crew member, leaving his pit. Oh, he's hit by the 00 as well.
Ralph, what are you looking at?
Tony Stewart made his pit stop. They just took 2 right side tires. He only made 13 green flag laps in between pit stops, and they feel like they're making a dent into fixing this situation. That's what Tony is saying on the radio, Marty.
Casey Kane here at the head of pit road, barely, and I mean barely, beat Tony Stewart off pit road, if my calculations are correct, or my eye is correct, here at the end of pit road. He said he needed help into turn 1. A little bit tight there. They went up a quarter round on the right rear jack bolt. Lindsay?
Marty, 13 green laps called for 2 tires only for Denny Hamlin. They gave him also a splash of fuel. He said the car's starting to free up a little bit. They also made a chassis adjustment, but right now, Denny on fire.
Well, that was interesting.
That was... There were a lot of things went on pit road at that
and
at
none
that
of them
point
were
in time.
really good.
No.
Now let's watch Biffle stop here.
See him on the right front there. Oh.
And then he dodges that, and then he does get tapped by McMurray.
And that's not very little. That's minor damage to the 16. The thing that could have been bad is the crew member. The crew member, obviously, these guys are athletes, and you see the way he just braced himself, rolled over the hood of the car. So no harm, no foul on that.
All right. Did you hear Tony Eury Sr. in the Nationwide race last night talking to his driver?
Yeah.
So you know where Tony Eury Jr. gets it, right?
Hey, it's all in the family, baby. And that's what he said. He said, I talked to Senior that way. I talked to Junior that way. I'll talk to you that way, too, man. And Brad Keselowski did a great job last night.
He did.
Man.
He really
Tip
did.
of the hat
Congratulations to him. Larry, you crew chiefs.
Yeah, and I go back to what Dale Earnhardt Jr. was saying, and he was being a little sarcastic, if you might have picked up on that. But, you know, back in the 90s, trying to adjust a race car, all we were really worried about was mechanical grip. We would make that half a turn of wedge adjustment, 1 turn of wedge adjustment in the rear, and it would normally go the right direction. But it sounds like what they've done, they've made a slight wedge adjustment in the rear window, and this splitter, how it goes to the ground, is so critical. I mean, we're talking thousandths of an inch, and what they've done, they've made an adjustment that now has this left front up, and the car just won't turn. What Junior's saying, you've got to get the left front down, because this left front corner is what makes a car turn through any of the corners here at Pocono.
Yeah, now, Larry, let me ask you another question, though. Let's go back to the 90s, okay? When we ran up here in the 90s, or racing here in the 90s, you had 400 and 350-pound springs. So a round of wedge or a quarter round or a half round only moved the car very little. When you're on a 1,400-pound spring or a 1,200-pound rear spring, it can change that left front a lot, right?
Exactly. If you raise that right rear corner, or you lower that right rear corner ever so slightly, early, with that much spring, it's going to make a huge difference. And like I say, we used to worry about this clearance to the valence or to the splitter, maybe if it was a quarter or half inch. Now it's making a difference. It's at the thousandths of an inch.
But the bump stops.
It changes everything.
It changes everything.
Everything changes everything. You know, and you know, the way the bar is loaded, the way you unload the bar, and just like Larry said, you know, mechanical grip is totally different. Now you're looking for aero grip plus mechanical grip, and when you run such strong springs in the rear and such soft springs in the front, and you load that bar that much, just a turn of the bar, we start talking 100,000s, 200,000s. You know, used to it would be like, put me an inch of wedge in this thing and let me go. Now we're talking thousands.
Our TNT test car brought to you by the Bill Engvall Show on TBS. All new episodes Thursday, June 12th. Now, Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon did not pit. They were last to pit road on lap 105. Everybody else basically just pitted, with the exception of Leffler, who came in a lap early, and the cars that are well off the pace are off the track. So Johnson and Gordon lead, but they did not pit. Casey Kane for second, and here comes Tony Stewart.
Wow.
Not a lot of room.
No, he forced his way through there. He thought about getting up there. And Stewart takes the position.
Here comes Biffle, and Hamlin right behind him.
And you see how when you dive to the bottom, how far you can get away from that guy on the outside. We'll see if he slides up in that outside groove or just hammers him.
Well, with tires, too.
Yeah, true.
I think Jeff was hoping that he could stay out there in that clean air. That was really going to, you know, help them, but he's already slipped back to 6th spot right now.
And ready to lose a couple more.
That 99 run right up on him, man.
Here comes Casey Kane looking at Jimmy Johnson for the lead.
He's just sizing up where he's going to make the move.
This is reminiscent of the first 15 or 20 laps of the race, with the 9 and the 48 out there, and the 9 just trying to figure out, okay, where's my best shot to get around me?
Okay, we'll watch all this. Check to pit road.
Hey guys, real quick on Jeff Gordon back there, but drivers, don't you really want as much clean air as you can get? I mean, Gordon was running 24th earlier, so I agree with that call on Steve Letarte. Take the chance. They've had a pretty good car. They had a very good car in clean air. Even if you fall back 6, 8, 10 somewhere in there, you're still 14 spots better than you were, right?
I'm taking tires.
Yeah, I'm taking.
You are, Wallace.
Yeah, I'm taking tires over clean air too. I'm telling you, at this point in time in the race, I may have tried this a little bit earlier, but I'm taking tires over clean air right now.
Johnson was running 8th when he did not pit. Gordon back around the 23rd, 24th position.
Yeah, I think we documented earlier that Jeff was not happy with his car yesterday in practice, and he's had some happy moments with it. I think, you know, he's got up to 13th or 14th and been in the top 10 a couple of times, but he's not been as comfortable with his car as some of these other guys.
It's Jimmy. I mean, if his car was decent, he probably could have pulled this off, but his car is really not that decent. And now he's going to wind up back 13th, 14th probably after this next lap.
Want to point out that Juan Montoya and Clint Bowyer have both returned to the track. Montoya is 42 laps down. Bowyer is 45 laps down. Bobby Labonte in the famous 43. Up front, this is for the lead. Casey Kane by Jimmy Johnson. Is that as close as it looked?
I think it was pretty close.
It was pretty close, but
I think Jimmy, yeah,
I think Jimmy
wasn't
worked
going
with
to push the issue on that. I mean,
so now the question is, how long until Johnson starts to fade since he's lost the clean air?
Well, right now, from here on.
How about it, Ralph?
Well, I spoke to Chad Canals, and it was a track position call for the 48 as well. Their biggest issue is they've lost a little bit of the handling in turn 3, but they felt the track position was way too valuable not to take a shot at trying to get as much of it as you can.
You know, that's 15 car lengths right there. Yeah, you know what I mean? I mean, from the tunnel turn to back to the front stretch, half the racetrack. So obviously, you know, Jimmy is going to struggle here, and these new tires are going to be better. And look, it'll bleed out. It'll shake itself out, and he'll be 8th or 9th or somewhere in that range. And he'll have to fight his way back, just like the 9 car has.
Here comes Stewart. A little bump draft help from Biffle. Johnson loses those 2 spots.
Man.
Franchitti in the wall. And there's Sam Hornish, who has really had just about the entire Pocono experience this weekend.
But, you know, I tell you what, a lot of what Sam has gotten caught up with here in the race has not been of his making. He's just been in the wrong place at the wrong time.
You ready for this? Juan Montoya gets the free pass.
He's gaining now.
He's the first car, highest running car not on the lead lap, 42 laps down. It was kind of in progress. See if we got another look at it. Nope. Kind of hard to tell. Those guys know. Under caution at Pocono. And it has been a wild day here at Pocono Raceway, and I don't think we're done with all the excitement. Kyle Busch has returned to the track, was involved in a wreck very early in the race. He is currently 83 laps down, about 40 laps behind Clint Boyer and 41 laps behind Juan Pablo Montoya. He's got some work to do. Here are some Coors Light cold hard facts, some milestones today. Matt Kenseth making his 300th consecutive start. Greg Biffle and Jamie McMurray, their 200th consecutive start.
That's what it is, consecutive start. Okay, because Kenseth made his 300th start in Phoenix.
But remember, he subbed for
I'm with you. So this is consecutive. I got you. No wonder I never got out of school.
Well, wait, who had you confused to begin with?
Marty. But Marty swears it's not him, but that's okay.
Field getting the 1 to go signal. A handful of cars did come to pit road under this caution, including Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Gordon is currently scored, let's see.
Well, Jeff had to come in.
Yeah, he did. He's 30th. I got Junior in the 33rd spot, and we'll see if Marty can't confuse us a little more here.
I shall try not to confuse you, and that was not me, Kyle, by the way, just in case you do want another reference. I told you yesterday, don't go there. It wasn't me.
I know, man. I know. I had to just pitch you. I'm sorry, man.
So he went the Kyle Petty and Wally Dallenbach route. He wanted some tires, as you can imagine, for Jeff Gordon. Dale Earnhardt Jr. still trying to hit that left front thing, trying to make it work a little bit better. They actually made a wedge and a track bar adjustment, trying to get that car down on the left front for Junior and that National Guard team. But Gordon feels like, again, his car's not that bad. They made a slight air pressure adjustment on that stop, and 4 tires. They want that clean air.
Now here comes my favorite moment of the race. Larry McReynolds is going to try and explain some strategy from Hendrick Motorsports. How about it?
Well, what I'm going to explain is why the 48 car stayed out. Remember, he has not been to pit road since lap 106, but he's not to that window where if he pits, he can make it on one more stop. He will have to be on pit road within about the next 6 to 10 laps, because remember, it's been that long since he was up there back on lap 106, but he couldn't make it if he pitted right there, so he elected to go with the track position and wait till he got to the window.
So what you're saying, Larry, is he's looking at this last stretch as the whole race, and he's running it like you run a road course, where to come heck or high water, you stay out, do your fuel, pit, do your fuel, and that's the end of your day.
That's the way it looks right now. This would be based on if we have no more cautions, Kyle.
Yeah, but that's right. Everything still has to work out perfect for it to work for them.
Yeah, but at least they put it, what I guess what he's saying is, at least they put themselves in a position, if it does work out perfect, that they can capitalize on it.
Green flag.
And it worked perfect for the 2014 last year, so.
Yes, it did. Now the 9 car, here he is at the head of the field in clean air, maybe for the first time today. I don't know.
No, he's been out there a couple of times, but he's passed a lot of cars today, that's for sure.
Well, it's the first time I think on a restart. Maybe.
He made some time through one in that 20 car, because that 20 car was right on him going into turn 1.
That's for second. Biffle by Stewart. Kane has led 24 laps today. working on his 25th right here.
Carl Edwards taking a look underneath the 11 car. Denny Hamlin, they're fighting for the asphalt strip.
This is tricky turn 3 where they have a new patch of asphalt. Comes out of the tunnel turn, takes you through turn 3. Has a lot of grip in it, or did earlier in the weekend.
It really doesn't seem to have given up anything today. You know, I think that was one of the big questions we talked about early in the day was, would the patch give up grip? Would guys move around and start passing each other? And even though we've had some long runs, they still continue to hammer the patch up there.
I think one thing to try and one way to look at this race is that there are about 30 guys chasing this race, trying to race as hard as they can to get to the checkers. I think the 24 team is, or the 48 team is letting the race come to them by using that backwards road course type strategy.
And maybe it's because they've realized that they're not
the best car.
They're not the best car. You're not going to outrun the 9 car. The 9 car is the class of the field today. Now maybe if something happened to the 9 and they realized, okay, now we're back to the head of the class, then they would approach it different. But this is, you know, you got to give it to Chad. Chad's willing to step out on a limb and try some different stuff, and this may work for him.
Jimmy Johnson in that 48, then it's Carl Edwards, Denny Hamlin.
Old tires or not, he's still got some steam down that straightaway.
He's got to hustle though, because if he's going to pit under the green,
yeah, he's getting it loose. I mean, he's hustling, and he's driving that little bit of loose there is going to cost him 2 spots possibly right here.
And just like you say, Weber, he does have to hustle. He needs to stay in that top 5, that top 10, so when he does pit, he doesn't get into the same situation we talked about earlier with Bobby Labonte and the 1 car of Martin Truex. When they pitted, they were fortunate. They got back out and the caution came out. He is going to be behind and all by himself, but the advantage is he's going to be all by himself in clean air with new tires on if he does pit.
Wow, Jimmy Johnson goes to the bottom, searching for some grip on that car because it's not working for him up high.
Coming down the road. Searching for a pit stall.
Nice to see you guys. 4 tires.
Coming to you, Ralph.
Well, we're waiting for him to make his way down pit lane. This could be exactly what they're trying to do as they get set to make their pit stop now. Here he comes. He comes to a stop. The crew jumps over the wall. They're going to give him a clean windshield. They go for right side tires right now. They make a quick chassis adjustment to the back. They're going to go for all 4 tires, get Jimmy back out there, and then play their dice and see if it works out the way. Here they go. We'll see if the strategy pays off now.
Can't speed. That would ruin his day.
Well, I tell you, though, he ran it to that next line.
He was on the gas. You could hear that thing all the way up here in the booth.
Back out on the track. The leader's coming out of 3. Here they come.
And that's why you see this distance. That's why it was important for him to stay in the top 10. If he had dropped back to 15th or 16th, then he would have come out at best right in front of the 9 car. Now he's got clear racetrack. He's got new tires. He's got everything. Best case scenario for him is he's got the clean racetrack.
He's running his own race.
Exactly.
He's in his own race right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Here comes Mark Martin. Ralph?
They go to work on the right side of Mark Martin's machine. He's been fairly decent with this car all day. He's admitted himself that sometimes he hasn't made the calls the way he needed to go on the setup of this car. His biggest problem at one point was he was hungry, so they slipped a sandwich through the window. No sandwich this time, but the 8's back out.
So Mark heads back out on the track. On board with Tony Stewart. Looking back at Carl Edwards. The Aflac Ford.
Tony's going to say, you know what? Go right ahead. Again, he sees that Carl Edwards got a little bit better car right now.
You see Carl just stick his hand out the window. A little bit of a thank you there.
Let's get an update on the 99 from Matt.
Stopwatch Bill was showing about 0.2 of a lap faster than the 20 was the 99 of Carl Edwards. The only hindrance he really has is the turn he's approaching now. The tunnel turn, he says, is just a little too tight from the center of this corner off and a little tick tight down in turn 3.
Thanks, Matt. So let's take a look. The race leader is Casey Kane. There you see the car of Jimmy Johnson, the Lowe's Chevy. That's Mark Martin behind him. And there is Kane, the race leader.
Jimmy Johnson is scored in the 35th position. But at this point, they're on an island. We're going to find out if it's a vacation island when we come back. The Pocono 500, presented by EA Sports NASCAR 09, is brought to you by Miller Lite, the perfect combination of taste and refreshment. By TGI Fridays Restaurants, featuring the right portion, right price menu. The right amount of food with all the flavor for lunch or dinner any day of the week. Give me more Fridays. And by Aflac. Ask about it at work. 142 laps are complete here at Pocono. Casey Kane, the pole sitter, is the race leader over Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards, Denny Hamlin, and Tony Stewart. Closing in on the final 50 laps of the race. Fans get even more TNT racing with TNT's Race Buddy on NASCAR.com right now. Watch bonus coverage, interact with other fans. Best of all, it's free and it's only at NASCAR.com. There's your race leader.
And he's laying down some pretty fast laps right now.
Yeah, and just in cruise mode, it almost seems like he's pulling away from Biffle in that crowd, but he's just in a different time zone, and he has been since yesterday in practice.
All right, let's try and work our way through the field here. Maybe we can get through this before the caution comes out. Kane leads. Here's Snyder.
Bill, I'm glad Wally noticed those lap times because they've been pretty incredible for Casey Kane. Best part of the racetrack for him is the part he just left. Turn 1. Feels like he's really getting through there very well. Not too bad in 2 and 3 either, I might add. Matt?
The Roush Fenway cars of Biffle and Edwards running second and third. Both teams about 3 laps short of making it a one more stop. That's why they didn't pit the last time. Meanwhile, the 99 of Edwards, he'd like to work a little more in the grip area on their next stop. But he continues to get faster and faster as this run goes on.
Matt, thanks. Denny Hamlin making his way up there. He says that he likes this track in parts because it reminds him of the tracks that he grew up racing on. He had gone a bit quiet on the radio. Last update, he was real loose into 1. They'll likely come in the next 10 laps for a pit. Now,
well, everything's been going pretty good for Tony Stewart through most of the day, except all of a sudden, just in the last lap or 2, he started coming on the radio really emphatically saying, I'm really, really loose, Lindsay.
Ralph Penton, absolutely radio silent on the radio. He's edged his way up to 6. They will need to come in probably within the next 10 laps as well. Ralph's last comment was that his car was a little bit tight, so look for chassis adjustments there. Ralph?
Lindsay,
Marty.
I'll pick it up from here. Actually, behind him is Kurt Busch. Yes, Kurt Busch is on the lead lap in 7th place. Yes, the same guy who wrecked on lap 39, spinning through the grass. It took 5 stops for Pat Tryson and the crew to fix that front splitter. They fixed it very well, thank you. His car's a little bit tight, especially in turn 1. And let's give some big credit today to A.J. Allmendinger. He's really kept his car in the top 15. This would be a career best finish for him. Currently, he is in 8th. The car's been a little bit too tight. That's it. They've made very few adjustments to this 84 Red Bull, Lindsay.
Marty, that is exactly what Jeff Burton's saying. His car has been tight, tight, tight all day long, especially within the last 10 laps. He said that earlier he couldn't find anything that could hit on for their car, that they felt like they were trying different changes. Nothing was really working. So we'll see how much more they can gain. Ralph?
Mariah Newman's in the 12 machine, and he's been plugging away at it all day long, too. And he's starting to make his way up through the field. He's in 10th right now, hoping to get another shot to adjust on this car a little bit more.
Thanks, Ralph. And just go a little bit further as we watch some of the action on the track. After the 12 car of Newman, it's Truex Jr., then McMurray with a good run. Dave Blaney's in the top 15. Harvick has battled back from having to start at the back of the field because of a battery problem before the race. Jeff Gordon has worked his way back up to the top 15. Then it's Vickers, Earnhardt Jr., Rudiman, David Reagan, and Menard. Interesting to see how this one unfolds. Just a little over 50 laps to go at Pocono. TNT Sports live at the Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania. 51 laps to go, and some green flag pit stops have occurred. Denny Hamlin has been on and off of pit road, and Tony Stewart is headed for pit road now. You got it, Ralph.
Well, Tony Stewart, as we said, had been complaining about the car being extremely loose. They made the call to come in. They were going to try to go 10 laps. They didn't go quite that far. They're going to take one round of wedge down on the back of this car. 2 tires right now. They're going to put 4 on, fill the fuel up, and send Tony back on his way.
Now, as these green flag stops continue, the car to keep in mind is the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. He is already stopped. He's running a different cycle than everyone else in the race. He's currently 30th, about 32.5 seconds behind the race leader, Kasey Kahne. Here comes Tony out of the pits. And there's your race leader, Kasey Kahne. Tony caught a little bit of traffic as he came up on the track.
But once again, Tony's got on good tires. You know, the 66 car came out right in front of the 9 car. Scott Riggs did, and he's kind of driven away from the 9 car, but because of the new tires.
Matt?
Martin Truex Jr. was complaining about his car as he slides to a stop. Near the end of this run, it was getting extremely tight down off of turn 3, but it was way too loose on entry down in turn 1. Kevin Bonamania making an air pressure change, also called for a chassis adjustment. Stop going on. He's finally away about another 5 to 6 laps before the Roush cars of the 99 and the 16 hit pit road.
These critical pit stops with 50 to go here in Pocono. Kahne the leader, then it's Biffle, Edwards, Kenseth, and Kurt Busch. With these pit stops unfolding, A.J. Allmendinger has worked his way up to the 6th position. There's Kahne. More green flag pit stops coming our way. Try and get back in time to catch those. In fact, we're going to stay right here because there's a report Kasey Kahne could be pitting this time. He is the race leader, has led 42 laps today, started from the pole.
Second gear, 45.
Through turn 3, and here he comes.
He running on around there. We saw the 48 car earlier go to the bottom and lose a little time. He didn't lose any time coming through 3 to get to the pits.
Headed your way, Marty.
Yeah, Bill, they had originally said lap 156, and Kenny Francis saw other people pitting, said, man, maybe you ought to come a little bit early. Casey said the car is just terrific. Best lap times they have turned all day long out on the racetrack, so this will be a 4-tire stop and no changes to the chassis for Kasey Kahne, a car they ran at Phoenix earlier this year. They felt like it was a top 5 car there. Cut a tire, hit the wall. Today, clearly the dominant car at Pocono, but this is where they make their money. You got to have good green flag stops. So far, a good stop for the Budweiser crew. 4 tires. They get Casey back on the racetrack, Lindsay.
Marty, Jeff Burton's car is in the pit box, and they're giving him 4 new tires, making a track bar adjustment fuel, and he's off and away.
Jeff Burton currently 2nd in the championship standings behind Kyle Busch. Kevin Harvick, his teammate, coming off of pit road behind him.
Here's 2 cars that have been really pretty quiet today. Jeff's run right inside the top 10, and Harvick's run right inside the top 15, but not a great place for either one of them. And I don't think either one of them have great records here. But if they can come out of here with other guys having trouble and have a decent points day, this goes a long way when it comes down to the chase.
Carl Edwards in that Aflac Ford. He's in the 2nd position right now. Greg Biffle is the race leader. 5 critical bonus points for Biffle. Jimmy Johnson has led the most laps, 60. Kahne 42, Denny Hamlin 17, Tony Stewart 14. Some of the race leaders today. 15 lead changes among 9 different race leaders.
It's almost like listening to it on these old tires. You hear him kind of roll out of it and then kind of get into it gradually until he comes off that place and then he goes.
Exactly. Darlington used to be.
Yeah.
If you just roll on that throttle as easy as you can not to break the car loose.
Larry?
Well, what I'm seeing here, including the 3 Roush Fenway cars that are 1, 2, 3, remember all those guys were on pit road at lap 123. They will be coming in the next 3 to 5 laps. But what this will allow them to do, they will obviously take 4 tires, fill that thing up with Sunoco race fuel, This will let them go down to about 10 to 15 laps to go to the end of the race, which probably will give them the opportunity to go with just 2 right side tires under their stop, where when you look at Jimmy Johnson that will be back on pit road around lap 168 with 32 to go, he will be forced to go with 4 tires. So it's going to get more interesting should we not get that caution.
Yeah, this race, this race has the potential to come down to be a pitcher's duel. Just like you see a ball game that's not a high-scoring game, but it's a great pitching duel. This is a strategy game, and when it comes down to 8 or 10 laps to go, or 10 or 12 laps to go, strategy is going to be key.
Johnson back in the 24th spot. Kurt Busch coming to his pit stall. Marty?
You know, Bill, when you're standing on the stage in New York at the end of the year and you finish in the top 12, this is one of those days you look back at if Kurt Busch is able to do that this year and say, that's where we gained a lot of points. They wrecked earlier on. They've been terrific so far. Car a little bit tight. They'll make an air pressure adjustment. Ralph?
Well, Ryan Newman has said that he's real loose in 1 and a tick free off of 2. So Roy McCauley, the crew chief, has made the call. They're going to go for 4 tires and fuel, make an air pressure adjustment, and put a round and a half in by the left rear.
You saw that water squirting out, but it's really not a big deal. These cars need forced air through the radiators, and when they don't, they go up instantly. They'll go up 10 or 15 degrees, and it pumps air out, water out.
There comes the race leader, Matt.
Fiffle is in. He said the biggest issue he had was down in turn 1, and then across the tunnel turn, he was starting to lose the grip there. They give him one clean tear off and an air pressure change as well to Lindsay.
Thanks, Matt Kenseth is pulling down pit lane. He's running currently in 3rd. He had gotten on the radio saying it's a little bit tight going in, loose off. The plan here is to give him 4 tires and fuel. Snyder?
A.J. Allmendinger coming down pit road. He has just had a wonderful run. We've talked about him hanging in the top 10, 15 for much of the day. He said the car's a little too loose getting in, a little too tight coming off the corner. They go up half around on the track bar. They also make an air pressure adjustment, trying to fix both of those problems for A.J. Allmendinger. These guys have also delivered wonderful stops today. He's back out on the track as well.
Race leader is Carl Edwards. 5 bonus points for leading a lap. He's coming to you, Matt.
Dives into the very first pit stall, Bill. He says, if anything, it's just getting a little snug off of 4 and 6. And you're saying 4 and 6. Every corner he multiplies by 2. So turn 1 is 1 and 2. Then the tunnel is 3 and 4. And then you can go on from there. They were planning an air pressure change. They talked about a track bar adjustment. He's finally away.
Oh, yeah. I'm going down it.
Lindsay, go ahead. Well, let's stay with the 26 right here, Jamie McMurray. Murray was involved in the wreck that put Kyle Busch into the garage, which Kyle later took responsibility for.
It doesn't look like they made any adjustments. They may have made some tire pressure adjustmts, but it looks like he must be fairly happy with his car because you saw no wedge bolts or no track bar adjustments.
And he's been pretty, he's been right there last 70, 80 laps. He's been in the top 15, so got a pretty good car.
Working our way through a cycle of green flag pit stops right now. Brian Vickers has scored as the race leader. But again, Jimmy Johnson, who pitted on lap 136, that's about 21 laps ago, is currently scored in the 18th position. Did look like they took just a tick longer than usual on the left side of the car of Carl Edwards. Vickers up the track, but we stay green. Brian Vickers is the race leader with 39 laps to go. Pocono 500 presented by EA Sports NASCAR 09. Just update a couple of cars. Dave Blaney, too fast entering pit road, pass through penalty. Patrick Carpentier, too fast exiting pit road, pass through penalty.
Vickers is hanging on. He's hanging on. You know, Casey Kane right now is running a second lap faster.
Let's take a look at today's race summary, brought to you by Papa John's, now offering you 100% whole wheat crust.
Wow.
Like I said,
Vickers is hanging on.
Yes, he is. What's going to be interesting here is with 38, 39 laps to go, you've got Vickers, you've got Dale Jr., you've got Jeff Gordon in 3rd now, Bobby Labonte in 4th. Casey's worked his way back to 5th. But does Casey have to pit again? If these guys run a couple extra laps, will they gamble on a 37 lap or 38 lap and stay out? And now, once again, just like Larry said in the opening, fuel mileage is going to be a factor, and it might come into it.
His calculator is smoking.
Oh, yeah.
Right about
Smoking
now.
in his pocket right now.
Dave Blaney gets the black flag. He did not come down for his pass-through penalty. So black flag, car 22.
But and Wally, we were talking about it. We heard on the radios that he was out of fuel. What does that do to you?
Yeah, well, it messes you up in a lot of ways. You hit pit lane, there's no way to judge your pit lane speed. And a lot of times, I don't know how he fired it up so quick to get out, because usually when you run it dry, it takes a long time to start these cars.
Yeah, and he fired it, unless as soon as it stumbled and he knew he was out of gas, he cut it off,
right,
and left the fuel in the bowls in the carburetor so it would fire up, because that does save you. And with NASCAR's new rule, only being able to push 3 stalls, he may have had that in mind, and they may have told him that. Tommy Ballman may have told him
and
that.
That's a great move.
But you've got no judge from an RPM. When RPMs are what you go off of coming down pit road and your car's cut off, you don't know how fast you run. You can't blame anybody for that.
Blaney answered the black flag, did his pass-through penalty. Let's check on pit road with Marty.
Well, guys, just real quick about how close Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon, running second and third right now, are cutting it fuel-wise. Steve Letarte just told Jeff Gordon, if he can give me a couple more laps, I think we may be able to make it on this last stop here. That would be key if these guys can do that, but they're going to have to cut it very close. He told Gordon, if it starts to stumble, come to pit road. Otherwise, stay out until I tell you so.
These are big laps to give you, too.
You know,
asking a lot.
But here's what amazes me. These cars don't stumble anymore. You know what I mean? That they've got the fuel system so perfected in these things. When they're out of gas, they're out of gas, man. The only gas left is the gas in the bowls and the carburetor. They just run out of gas. So it's not like it used to be where you could watch the pressure, and as the pressure began to fall, it's like, okay, I've got 4 pounds on the backstretch. I'm coming in this time. You don't have that anymore.
Cars we're watching right now, Vickers, Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon pitted on lap 131. So did Bobby Labonte and Regan Smith.
Just watch the speed, Jeff. They busted a couple people already.
Warning Gordon about his pit road speed.
Right rear.
I think this 24 may be coming down pit road this time.
There's Vickers. He gives up the race lead. Ralph?
Here comes Brian Vickers. Now, Jackman Sean Pete is going to be over the wall to get the car up in the air. He was a defenseman for the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton Penguins in the American Hockey League. He's not going to have any problem getting this car up. They're going to put a quarter pound in the left rear of this car. It's been pretty good, and they had him buy him an extra lap of fuel, which is what they needed, Marty.
Ralph, could this somehow pay off for a win for Hendrick Motorsports? Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to have to make his car go 35 laps on a tank of fuel. So will his teammate Jeff Gordon. They pit together here on pit road, trying to make it all the way to the end. Junior a little too tight. Gordon tight as well. Matt?
Earlier than scheduled stop for Greg Biffle. He's already away, Marty, going down pit road. Biffle said all of a sudden the car just got extremely loose. Thought he might have had a right rear tire going down, so they topped it off with some Sunoco race fuel and took right side tires. The crew right now looking over the tires to see indeed if he cut something and that if it might have been flat.
12 career wins for Greg Biffle.
To the end from here.
But 20 races since the Biff has been to victory lane. Greg Biffle in the 16 car, too fast exiting pit road.
And that's his luck. That's the way his luck has been all year long.
He's going to have to come through pit road for a pass-through penalty. So Biffle, heartbreak, too fast off of pit road. Casey Kane is the race leader at Pocono. "31 laps to go here in the Pocono 500. Casey Kane is the race leader. Denny Hamlin runs second. Then it's Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth, and Jeff Burton. Greg Biffle was hit with a speeding ticket, too fast exiting. He currently runs 33rd, 1 lap down after leading the race just a few laps ago.
And that's so sad. You know what I mean? I don't know anything else to say about it except it's just sad for that team, sad for Greg, because they've run so strong all day long and continued to get better and better as the day went.
It just happened all year long.
Wrong place, wrong time. Wrong place, wrong time. If it could happen, would happen, should happen, it happens to him.
There's Jimmy Johnson. He was on pit road while we were in commercial break. Pitted on lap 168. He is currently scored in the 27th position. And there are 28 cars on the lead lap. See how it plays out for Johnson. Now it's time for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile Monster Moment. And this could have been disaster for Casey Kane. They were going to do a 4-tire stop, changed it to 2. They'd already popped off some of the lug nuts. Had to bring Kane back to pit road, put on the left side tires, and restarted at the back of the field. It passed a bunch of cars. The team never panicked, and Casey Kane has the lead with 30 to go. Stay tuned to all of the in-car audio, live radio broadcasts, stats, and more with NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile on Motorola Razr. Only on the new network. Visit sprint.com/speed to find out more. Second and third right there, Denny Hamlin.
And Carl Edwards has been getting better and better as this race was going on. I've just been watching his lap times and watching him as he's, approaches these guys through the corners and where he's making up time. And Carl's got a pretty good car right now. He's 10 seconds back.
He just hustled it right there, but you're exactly right.
Got the position. Carl Edwards to second. Ralph.
Tony Stewart didn't like the last round of adjustments. He's on pit road right now, taking 4 tires and getting an adjustment and some fuel. Greg Zipadelli said, I need you to stay out. I need some laps for fuel. Tony said, no problem. I'm not wrecking in every corner like it was the last time around.
Good to know. So Tony Stewart working his way off of pit road. There goes race leader Casey Kane. 28 laps to go here in the Pocono Mountains. Casey Kane looking for the win. Under green here at Pocono, race leader Casey Kane headed for pit lane. Marty.
And after the Greg Biffle speeding penalty, you can bet that Kenny Francis has reminded Casey Kane twice now. Keep that speed limit a little under what you would normally be. For him, that's 4,500 RPM. He's going to keep it around 4,400 RPM. Come a little slow down pit road just to make sure everything goes well here. It's going to be fuel and 4 tires for Casey Kane. The car has been terrific. Very good. He did want a slight wedge adjustment on the right side. He felt like turn 1 is where he was giving up a little bit of time. They want no mistakes and an easy stop here. Lindsay.
That's exactly what Denny Hamlin's crew chief Mike Ford is going for. He said, give me 4 tires fuel, a slight air adjustment. Denny said, you're killing me through turn 1. I'm too free. So they're hoping to tighten him up a bit.
And we have been talking about speeding tickets here, and we can tell you Tony Stewart was too fast exiting. Pit road speed is 55 miles an hour. Tony was 60.38 miles per hour in the last timing box. Tony Stewart is currently scored 36th, 1 lap down.
And under green, that's where you get caught most of the time, the last timing box. We saw where Kenny Francis in the 9-car pits, the very end pit, all the way at the end of pit road. They don't worry about the last timing box. Once that thing lands, they launch straight off pit road. So there's no speed limit for those guys.
Last timing box, last pit stop.
That's it, man.
That's where you normally get now, because you're especially under green.
Exactly, but that's why people choose pit road. When you talk to a Larry McReynolds or you talk to crew chiefs, that's why there's a strategy in where you pick your pit on pit road.
Marty.
Kurt Busch here, Billy, ran up to 6th position on that last run. He said the car was a little tight, though, so they're going to make a wedge adjustment on the right side, trying to loosen up a little bit. It'll be 4 tires for Kurt Busch. The man who got in a wreck earlier on was able to race his way back in the top 10. This is going to turn out to be a very good day for this 2-bunch.
You got trouble?
Kyle Busch has gone around, and the caution flag is out.
Man.
And as they say in the afternoon soap operas, that changes everything.
That changes everything. That changes everything.
So everything we said. Forget about everything we said.
Forget about what we've talked about for the last 45 minutes here. Forget about the pit strategy. Forget about everything.
We're going to need Larry's help on this one.
Okay, now as that was happening, let's take a look at Carl Edwards. He was the race leader, was coming safe.
Wow, because once you go past that cone, you're committed. You are
Timing,
committed.
which is why they call it
That's incredible.
On board with Kyle Busch.
You see him hit the curb right there.
Yep.
Not the day the point leader was hoping for. Been involved in a wreck earlier in the race. Currently scored 43rd.
Wow.
And he will finish 43rd. He cannot pick up any point positions.
No, but at this point in time, he's going to be out there and he's going to finish the race so he doesn't have a DNF, because it will go down.
Okay, let's go to Professor McReynolds.
Well, the thing I don't understand, and you guys will have to answer this because they have the pit road entering flag and light. Unless the light had turned red that indicated pit road was closed, I don't understand why Carl Edwards did not go ahead and make his green flag pit stop again, unless that light there had already turned red.
Well, that, and I'm not sure those guys knew where the leaders were or everything was going on. That was a call somebody had to make in a split second, Matt.
Wally, Bob Osborne yelled on the team radio, the caution is out. The light had just turned red on pit road. That's why Carl Edwards veered to the right and just missed the cone. The 99 is in. Now they want to try to have one more shot at winning this race. They're going to go 4 tires on this change. He said he was having issues down in turn 1. Track bar adjustment already completed. That's why they're going 4 versus while the others went 2. Lindsay?
Well, Matt Kenseth is in. He's got 15 laps on those left side tires. That's why he and his crew chief Chip Bolin were going back and forth about how many to do. They decided to go with 4. Chip Bolin says he's not willing to take a risk on a track bar adjustment in the last 20 laps. Snyder.
Well, Lindsay, A.J. Allmendinger was going to take 2 tires if they had to pit under green, but because they're here under caution, they're going to take 4 tires. They go down 2 rounds on the track bar. Got really loose towards the end of that run.
All this happening with 22 to go. What'd you see, Kyle?
No, we were just looking.
Yeah, we'll talk about it when we come back from break, because there's a lot of stuff here.
Including a potential problem for a car that just pitted. Back to Pocono in a moment. TNT Sports at the Pocono 500, presented by EA Sports, NASCAR 09. Those video games might be exciting, but they're not as exciting as what we've seen right now. Kyle said it just before we went to break, a lot of wacky things happening. First one involves a 99 car. Let's go back and watch him coming down. We're going to pan left here. You'll see the light come on pit road. Watch for it. See the red lights on.
Yeah, here's the light right there.
Okay. And now watch for Carl Edwards. Makes the move. So pit road was closed before he got to the commitment cone.
Heads up right there. That was real heads up.
But the story does not have a happy ending, Matt.
Bill, his day has taken a turn for the worse. Edwards came on the radio shortly after exiting pit road down by turn 1 and said, something is wrong. I think I've got a flat tire. And then he says, I've got a flat left rear. Great shot of it there by our camera as the tire went down, came back in. Boy, he and his teammate in the 16, Greg Biffle, their days have really gone awry here in the last 25 laps.
They have, and I thought the 99, if anybody was going to give Casey Kane a run, the way they were running at that time was Carl Edwards.
Free next time by. The free pass went to Patrick Carpentier. He gets to come around and be the
I still
lucky
think
dog.
right now that Casey Kane is sitting in the best position tire-wise.
Because Vickers and Earnhardt Jr. did not stop.
Vickers, Earnhardt Jr., Bobby Labonte, those guys pitted all with about 35 laps to go, and they were playing the fuel mileage game. Now they're going to have to run hard, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, they should, with these caution laps, have enough to run hard and finish, and now they're playing the track position game.
And the faster cars have got some guys to work through to get to Casey Kane that are on better tires.
And we've seen how hard it is to work through traffic, unless you Casey Kane.
Snyder.
Well, as you can imagine here, as you guys mentioned, here's Dale Earnhardt Jr. playing this game perfectly after all the squabbling in the middle of the race between he and his cousin Tony Eury Jr. He said, that 9's behind you, and he's kind of fast. So if you can do anything to get around that 83 in these first few laps, we're definitely good on fuel. Don't worry about that. He only has tires a little bit fresher than us, not too much. So just go as hard as you can as soon as that green flag falls.
Yeah, I hope everybody at home has enjoyed this race, because it's been a multitude of races all rolled into one race. And now when it's all said and done, it comes into a 20-lap sprint race, just like at your local short track. It's all out. Let's see who takes on the trophy. It's that type of race.
Casey Kane pitted on lap 175, so he basically has much fresher tires than the 83 and the 88, which pitted 10 laps earlier.
And you remember the give and take?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
it
all
gets really
take
ugly
right now.
now.
It's all take right now.
Jimmy Johnson, with his strategy, has landed in the 8th spot as we get ready to restart with 19 to go.
Junior got a good start. I don't think he can bump grab the 83 because the 83 doesn't have a rear bumper anymore.
Oh, look at Junior. Good move.
Well, Tony slid up the racetrack.
Stewart is a lap car. He is 1 lap down. This is for the lead. Dale Earnhardt Jr., who has not won in 75 races, and Brian Vickers.
Man, that's good stuff right there. If they can hang on.
Can they do it again in 3?
Well, they're fighting for that outside spot, trying to get the 3 right now because they're hitting that asphalt strip. Right now they single file in. And Casey Kane's just kind of sitting there waiting for things to calm down a little bit.
And Tony was hanging there. You see Tony drop down out of the way to give Casey room to get by on the outside. And that's just a courtesy move. That was pretty cool.
Vickers leads, Ralph.
Just before the restart, crew chief Kevin Hamlin told Brian Vickers, if we're going to win this, you need to go real hard. Clear your head and let's go get after it. Apparently he did just that. Remember, his one and only Cup victory came at Talladega 2006.
I see a Superman back there in the middle of that pack.
Wearing a green cape?
Yeah.
Could be. Could be.
Denny Hamlin right there in 11th spot. Up to 4th.
A FedEx Toyota, and he made a big leap on the restart.
And he's got 4. He's got 4 fresh tires, so he knows he's got to get with it right now.
Casey's got to get around these guys and get out in front and get some clean air before the 11 car jumps up there on his back bumper.
Absolutely right. He needs to get out front and leave if he can.
The 11 really only has to pass the 88 car right now to get to Casey, because you know Tony's going to give him a little bit of a bump there, a little bit of room probably.
Might be waiting for him to try and help him out.
Could be.
Marty, what are you working on?
I was just going to talk about Casey Kane's situation. Kenny Francis was preaching on the radio, be patient, kind of let it sort out in front of you. But I agree with Kyle. He didn't really have that time, does he, KP?
No, I don't think he has that time now. Not with the 11 car coming the way he came on the first few laps. And look, I don't want to disregard Vickers here. Vickers is leading this thing, man, and he is driving a good line. He's running the lane he wants to run. It's up to the 9 to get around, but you can see that the 83 is holding the 9 up, because there's the 88 that's driven back up on the bumper of the 9.
Boy, they are all bunching up now. And Tony Stewart falling in line behind Denny Hamlin.
The 9 car is kind of doing the same thing he did the very first few laps.
Yeah.
He can roll into turn 3, but with somebody in front of him, he can't get it turned and can't get to the gas the way he wants to. That's why it's critical that he gets around this 83 car if he's going to take off.
But I'm a little bit surprised. Being on a little bit better tires than Brian, I thought he would get by Brian a little bit quicker. And there's Denny Hamlin going to take that spot away from Earnhardt.
Yeah. Denny's coming, and like you say, the 20 car gave Denny no issues. He just pulled over down the front stretch and let Denny go by. Denny got a good enough run that he takes over the 3rd spot there from the 88 car.
Looking ahead at the leaders.
There it goes. And yep, Casey's got to make this happen if he's going to have a shot at this, because he knows Denny Hamlin's coming.
Is he going to slide him? Yes, he did.
Yes.
He had to, man.
Casey Kane recaptures the lead.
Good job by both of those guys, though. Vickers gave him a little room there.
Intervals at the line as we come to 15 to go.
This is good stuff right here.
That's really is.
Yeah, because you got right there in the top 3 cars are 3 totally different sets of tires. I mean, it's totally different strategy on those 3 cars that's played out.
Closing in on the 500-mile mark, and they're that close.
That's amazing. Of all we've been through today and all the scenarios we've talked and everything we've talked about, it's all come together, which shows you that you can go multiple paths to get to the end and get to victory lane. But you see the 9 car, how he's checked out on the 83 and also on the 11. He's put some distance on the 11 car here.
A lot of different strategies trying to get to victory lane here in Pocono. 14th race of the season. Take our final green flag commercial break. Come back, take you to the checkers. Are you ready to watch and listen in to your favorite driver all race long? Check out Track Pass Race View yourself. Log on to NASCAR.com/TrackPass right now and start your free trial. 11 to go.
Yeah, and like I thought, when he got back out front, he all of a sudden knocked off 3 or 4 tenths off his lap times, Casey Kane. So
he
right now, yeah, he's sailing.
Yeah, he just cannot get through the center of the corner when somebody's in front of him. I don't know if he loses a nose or what, but you called this morning in our production meeting at 8 o'clock.
10 to go. Coming to 10 to go.
Well, it just seemed to me, watching him closely in practice and stuff, that he just, his car was consistent and he was happy with it, and everybody else wasn't.
That's for 5th.
And here's Burton, who is moving up in points. But
Jets 21 unofficially right now, 21 points behind Kyle Busch.
And we talked about him earlier. We've not even heard of him all day long. He's just been kind of messing around back there in the top 10 somewhere, and all of a sudden he's a top 5 car.
Come to 10 to go at the line.
Boy, it sure drops off, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Well, as BP would say, Casey Kane, he's going somewhere.
He's going somewhere. He's been going somewhere all day long. There's
yeah.
been people in front of him a few times, but he's still been going somewhere.
See, unofficially, let's see, A.J. Allmendinger is currently 12th. His best career finish was 15th at Lowe's in October of 2007. He's had a good run. Bobby Labonte is inside the top 10 in the 43 car. Strong run for him. Up front, it's still Casey Kane. The question is, can Vickers or Denny Hamlin catch him in the final 10 laps?
This is the race that's going to get tight right here. I really believe the 9 car, if the 11 maybe could get around the 83, then maybe he's got good enough tires. It's hard to say because he'll close up on the 83 and then he loses some position because he just drives her off in there.
Now, and the problem is, if the 11 and the 83 are going to race a lap or two, that's just going to give Casey Kane more of a lead.
Yeah.
So the only thing, if the 83 pulled over and gave Denny Hamlin a clean pass, then maybe Denny could track him, run him down.
Kane picked up 0.2 of a second on that last lap, Marty.
And Bill, what a surge this has been for Casey Kane over the last few weeks. Everybody knows the All-Star win after he was voted in by the fans. Still very appreciative of the fans for voting him into the All-Star race. But I asked Kenny Francis this morning, where did the surge really come from? He said, really, for him, it was the Atlanta race. He said, we were horrible in that race. So we just experimented. We used the entire race as a test, found some things that actually the setups we're using right now are based on during that race, just experimenting. Since then, they've been terrific. Obviously, the win at Lowe's, the near win, they ran well at Dover until they got in the crash. So winning here today, if they are able to pull it off, it's been a terrific run over the last few weeks for Casey Kane.
And he just picked up 0.3 of a second on that last lap. So he's picked up half a second.
And he's got
or more on the last 2 laps.
Clean
combined.
racetrack, way ahead of him too. That's exactly what he wants. He's got one car ahead of him, but that car leaves a lap or more down.
This is the 8th spot. Bobby Labonte in the 43. Matt Kenseth in the 17. Kenseth and Labonte both trying to climb up the championship point standings.
The 43 car, Bobby and those guys have had a good run. You see him in there just sawing the wheel. They've made good calls at the right time. They don't have the fastest car here. When you look at their lap times and you look at the top 10, he's one of the slower cars in the top 10 or 15. But Jeff and those guys make great call in the pits and put them up there, and Bobby's drove the wheels off of it.
Denny Hamlin is getting closer. He's really good in turn 3. He makes up a lot of time. And also on that last lap, I saw him get through the tunnel turn pretty good. He made a lot of ground up on Brian Vickers. He just doesn't have enough of a run to get his car in a position to get it next to Vickers. Not yet anyway.
Not yet. And when he gets, it seems like there's like a cushion of air between him. When he gets so close, it like knocks him back 2 car lengths, and then he has to build back to it.
Kane has increased the lead from 2.2 seconds to 3.4. Less than 7 laps to go.
I really thought the way the 11 jumped around those guys on this restart, that he was going to dispose of the 83 and the 88 and those guys fairly quick, but he's got that far, and that's it. And at the same time, you know, the 9 has just set sail.
And again, you have to go back to the fact that Casey Kane had an incident on pit road. They were going to make a 4-tire change. Midway through the stop, they decided to make it just a 2-tire change, but they'd already taken lug nuts off the front left wheel. Kane had to come back down pit road, got new left side tires, went back out, and started at the back of the field outside the top 40.
And let's give a call to the 11. They did too. They did the same thing when they had their fender torn up. They went back in, they come in, they fixed their left front fender or their right front fender. You know, the 83 has got there on just pure drive from Brian Vickers and on great pit strategy from the Red Bull team. But the 11 car, these guys have been from the back to the front at least twice during this race.
Hey, Ralph, how about that 83 car?
Well, he's doing a great job behind the wheel, Bill. He said just a few moments ago, the only difference between us and these guys that we're chasing is the tires. We've got a very good race car. And they said, don't worry, you're going to make up the difference for us, driver, between you and those tires. And he's doing just that, Lindsay.
What Bill and Kyle are talking about up in the booth, talking about Denny not having a line. He just came on the radio and said, I can't do anything about this when he's right in front of me, right taking up my line. So Denny's giving it all he's got. He's trying. He wants to get a win for his crew because his car chief got sick on Friday, had to go to the hospital. They've had to shuffle everybody around to make things work this week, so it would be really big for them.
Denny Hamlin has had tremendous success here at Pocono in his brief Sprint Cup career. The sweep in 2006, led the most laps in this race a year ago. Hamlin has led 17 laps today, runs in the 3rd spot. 5 to go, coming to 4. We talked about it this morning, Kyle and Wally, in our meeting. These Gillette Evernham Motorsports cars really do seem like they've come full circle.
It's been like a light switch almost. I mean, it just seemed like they struggled, and then all of a sudden, you know, like Marty was saying, right after the All-Star race, it was just like, this is a different race team.
Yeah, I think here's the 43 car. You say, he just gets out there, he gets in, it pushes out, like we talked about. It pushes out. Matt did a good job of staying off of him. But you talk about the Gillette Evernham. When George Gillette and Alex and those guys bought into that team last year, they started moving people around. Mark McCardle, some of those guys who had been in the engine department, Tommy Wheeler left him in the engine department. Some of the guys in key positions, they moved some people around and they brought in some of their own people. They did everything they said they were going to do. And I think you're seeing that on the racetrack also. At the same time they allowed the race teams to get their stuff in a row, get their ducks in a row. The business itself has got its ducks in a row. So hats off to George and Alex and everybody at that group, because they've really put their stuff together.
Hey guys, another thing that happened, I talked to Kenny Francis and I've actually talked to Casey Kane. And you go back to 2006, a team that won 6 races, more wins than anybody. Last year they went winless. And I think by the end of last year, and even at the beginning of this year, I think the team was a little bit starting to doubt Casey Kane, and Casey Kane was starting to doubt the team. And I think when it all came together and they won the All-Star race, all of a sudden they realized, you know what? It's the same driver and the same team that won those 6 races in 2006. And this battle right here, it's going to get interesting. Remember, that's 5 more points for Jeff Burton in that 31.
Maybe.
You heard Junior checked up a little bit. You saw him wiggle a little bit, but he just gave him.
And he's going to go right back down underneath him and get Burton a little bit loose.
Yeah.
No, he's not going to just hand this thing over right now.
Yeah, that's more than 3 points. That's 5, I think.
Good job.
And that's important to both of those guys, the 88 and the 31.
Less than 2 laps to go.
Man, that car's loose. Burton's loose getting down there in turn 1 there. You can see the car jump sideways on him.
4th and 5th. Remember, Burton is 2nd in the championship standings. Earnhardt is 3rd.
Junior had struggled a little bit the last couple of laps over the tunnel, and that's where Burton got a run on him right here. We picked up the gas on him.
They head for turn 3.
Burton's going to try the low line this time. He figures, well, I'm either going to follow him here and stay here. Maybe I can find some grip down on the bottom, but there isn't any.
Casey Kane has taken the white flag. This is the last lap of the race. 28-year-old from Enumclaw, Washington. Had the spectacular weekend that they talked about at Charlotte. Disappointment at Dover, but now he's come to Pocono. Right now, he would be 9th. Yes, the 9 car would be 9th unofficially in the championship standings. One more turn to go for Casey Kane. This will be a true team victory. Battled back from the problem on pit road, started on the pole, 4 of the last 5. Now 5 of the last 6 races at Pocono have been won from the front row. The pole winner's going to take the checkers. Casey Kane wins at Pocono.
All right, man. Great job out there. Great way to dig us out of that hole. And great job in here, guys.
Tremendous run for Brian Vickers. Earnhardt holds off Burton for 4th. Strategy worked out for Jimmy Johnson. Didn't get the win, but got 6th. Bobby Labonte fell to 11th. The top 10 finish for Mark Martin.
How about Kurt Busch and that team?
Yeah, that was a great comeback.
Great comeback for that team right there.
A.J. Allmendinger, believe that'll be his career best finish.
That was just a solid day for the Red Bull team, but you can't. I mean, this group right here, they're just hot. You know, you talk about Elliott. Every time I hear Elliott Sadler, he's talking about how good this team is, and he's getting better and better. But these guys are taking advantage of it and capitalizing on it.
To pit road and Lindsey Zarniak.
Bill, and with the winning crew chief Kenny Francis, you guys battled back from problems on pit road to win this race. How satisfying is this, Kenny?
It was pretty cool. The driver dug us out of a big hole. I really messed up, put us in a hole there, and tried to call a 2-tire, and he had already knocked a couple lugs off the left front, so we had to come back in and put another set of tires on. But man, the driver just did a great job, dug us out of a huge hole, and just big thanks to the fab shop that built this car. It's one of our newer cars, and you know, it's just a great team effort. You know, just want to thank also the 19 guys. You know, they're a bigger part of this than people realize, and they've really helped us a lot. So thanks to Rodney and Kevin down there, and thanks to my engineer Chad. And it's been a great day for us.
How much of this is also confidence that has been building up for this team?
Well, I think we've been building some confidence. We've had a strong year going. We've kind of been improving all year. We've kind of been under the radar, under the limelight, but we know we've been doing a good job. We've just trying to step it up a little bit every week and try to learn a little bit and get a little bit better. And we finally kind of got where we're fairly confident, but we still got a long way to go. You know, we still got a lot of tracks that we need to get better at, so we're still working hard.
Kenny Francis helps Casey Kane to his 2nd win of the season. Bill?
Casey Kane's 9th career win and his 158th start, his 5th win from the pole, and his 1st win at Pocono. He's the 3rd multiple winner in 2008, and he's headed for victory lane. We take you there next. 500 miles at Pocono Raceway complete. Casey Kane's in victory lane, and Marty Snyder is there.
And what an unbelievable run for Casey Kane and this Budweiser Dodge team. Just dominant today. Fell back to 38th, and they're able to come back to the front. And as you would imagine, a little bit of Budweiser here in victory lane being thrown about. Casey's going to enjoy one, as a matter of fact. Casey, when was the last time you had a car that dominant?
Never. I've never had a car that dominant.
Never? You've had some dominant cars before.
I've had some dominant race cars, but ones that just kept, stayed the same all day, and it was so good all day long. And Kenny Francis made great calls. Chad, our engineer, I mean, they teamed it so good. Our engines, the engineering guys back at the shop, everybody at Gillette Evernet Motorsports, and I really want to say thanks to Budweiser, you know, and Allstate and Stanley and the people that stuck with us, and Budweiser for coming along this year. I mean, it's been a huge turnaround. It feels really good.
Take me through 2 scenarios in this race. First of all, you fall back to 38th. You never panicked then. But secondly, the last restart. Did it take you longer to get around Junior and Vickers than you thought it would?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to take my time, and then I saw the 11 coming, and I know how good he runs here. And I was, you know, because I was pretty loose all day, but the back had so much grip and turned so well that I just needed to take a little bit of time there. And I saw the 11 coming, and it was time to go, and we got to where we needed to go. But thank everybody, Siemens, Bosch, Stanley, I don't know, Valvoline, everybody that's part of this deal. It feels good to win another race.
For the 5th time in Casey Kane's career, he starts on the pole and wins the race. Matt.